Hello, everyone. This is yet another episode of the Essays and Espresso podcast. We were contemplating letting Acer host this one, but Boken vehemently was like, no, don't do that. Fuck you. You're still going to be the host. And I'm like, okay. So,
that is exactly what happened.
Literally
I can
verbatim.
corroborate.
Literally verbatim. So in the comments, I want you to write down if you want me to be host or if you want Acer to be host. It's up to you guys. I'm okay either way.
Why the hell are we suddenly bringing up this question?
I'm like a cool host, guys. I'm the fun host.
Why are we pulling this into doubt? Everything was fine.
Well, uncertainty is good for you, Boken.
Yeah.
It's the stressors that help you grow.
Because, Boken argues that a good podcast relies on consistency. If you hear someone else introducing the podcast, you immediately want to projectile vomit.
And Daniel said, that's a good point. I agree.
I did. But at the same time, let's see what people in the comments say.
You know who does the changing moderator thing? The Dad and Sons podcast. And it always drives me up a wall.
See, I don't know if this is a general podcast listener thing or if this is a Boken thing that he gets.
See, that's
mad
partly why. That's partly why I was like, let's give this a test run. So, do you guys think we should rotate hosts or just stick with me? Don't worry, you're not hurting my feelings. I'm not bothered. But yeah,
you are hurting my feelings if you veto me.
Okay, then I also want to know from the questions if I should be hosting.
Ooh. Yes.
Oh, so, you don't want to host.
I don't want to host, no.
But let's see, people, if you want to.
I can barely get a straight fucking sentence out. I should not be hosting.
But I think it'll build character for you. You build character through adversity. So if you are forced in a situation that you don't want to be in, and you come out stronger for it, it's just going to help you.
And if the podcast has to crash and burn for it, then that's fine.
So what's the essay topic, Daniel?
Yes,
and when are you going to introduce me?
I was about to do that. You piece of fuck. Just give me a minute. So, remakes.
You ruined it. We can't monetize now because you swore in the first 10 minutes.
No, we're not demonetized because we also have to prove that this is not for children. And me saying the word fuck proves that this is not for children.
And we're not monetizing.
That's true.
Yeah, that's true. Anyways, remakes versus reimaginings. That is the essay topic. We're probably also going to talk about remasters and maybe reboots. The way that
for the record, remakes versus reimaginings, it's not which one is better, it's which one fits the specific circumstance.
Yes,
right?
Yes, we're not trying to advocate that one is inherently better than the other.
And there might have been a game release that is very good discussion material for this question.
Yes, which two of us here have played to completion. So we'll get into that later. So first off, Acer, what have you been up to?
Let me tell you, Daniel. I'm just gonna sneakily open up the Google Docs. I was
always
rewatching.
Start with Acer, by the way.
Well, because you kept complaining that I started with you, and you were like,
"No, you always start with Acer." This is not.
Wait a minute. Do you want consistency or not? What is this?
I want consistency in the intro.
You're such a difficult person to please, Boken. I can't handle the stress of bending back to your needs.
Oh, I feel like I want to.
I just pointed it out,
I want to see
took it from
a marketing firm try to cater to you. It's impossible.
Bending over backwards for you, and then you're like, it's not the right angle.
I watched Futurama, all of it, but with commentary.
With Matt Groening?
Matt Groening, yes. That's his name. No, it was the conventional team: Matt Groening, David X. Cohen, John DiMaggio. Billy West joined after the first season. Phil Lamar and Maurice LaMarche was there too.
Isn't Phil Lamar in it as well?
Yeah, he is in it,
He's
but
Hermes.
He wasn't on the. Yeah, he's Hermes and a few other characters, but he wasn't on the commentaries a lot.
Is John DiMaggio Bender?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
And he's
that was the only one
all
that
of the
fit in my mind.
commentaries. Can we talk a bit about John DiMaggio's Joker in Under the Red Hood?
Dude,
have I talked about that
he was
before?
so good.
I think he's my favorite. I think that's my favorite Joker performance.
It's
so sadistic.
I don't know if it's the best, but it's extremely underrated. That's a good movie.
It's also just why everybody loves Mark Hamill. I like Mark Hamill as the Joker, but
yeah.
Can we have any sort of momentum to get John DiMaggio back? It's been 10 years and he voiced the character once.
Yeah, and he did a fantastic job. And it was a very different take on the Joker.
Yeah.
Yeah, I honestly don't remember his performance at all. But I feel like his voice is extremely dark, which is usually not the Joker.
That's such a good movie. Under the Red Hood.
Is.
Watch that movie if you haven't. It's good.
Anyway, Futurama. I think they should. We are major advocates of people not bringing up nostalgia every day, right? You should remake this game, remake this, remake that. We're usually on the side of, just do new stuff. We don't need sequels to everything. We can just do new things, right?
Yes.
Not now. Not now. Bring Futurama back. It's the only thing.
Why?
Because I learned in the commentaries that those guys have stories for centuries. No, seasons. They had so much stuff that they couldn't do. Was they were talking about notice there in the background, that little element there, that's in the background of 50 different episodes, and we never got around to doing the story we wanted to do with that. And there's just so much stuff there that they left undone, and I want to see them. See, this isn't a case of bring it back to pander to fans. This is a case of bring it back to complete it. Do 1 or 2 seasons to just sort of put a cap on it. Because Billy West, he's gonna be 70 years old soon, and Tress MacNeille is also going to be 70 soon. And these people aren't going to live forever, unfortunately.
I mean, if it's just for one episode, for one or 2 seasons.
Yeah, just 1 or 2 seasons, 40 episodes or something.
Jesus, 40 episodes.
Yeah, what's wrong with that?
I don't know. That's not my definition of a season anymore. My definition of a season now is 10 episodes.
26, not 26 episodes?
No.
See, I don't want that because I feel like have you watched Disenchantment?
No.
Yeah.
I think that show is really hurt, one, by the serialization, because it's kind of like a story which never ends, and it makes every episode kind of just bland. Like with Futurama or The Simpsons or that, that's that's the episode where Bender fell in love with a spaceship, or that's the episode where Bender became joined the mafia. Disenchantment doesn't really have that because of the serialization and the long form storytelling, and I think they should have more episodes which are all sort of standalones.
See, but give
their identities.
That is the general trend. I mean, you're talking about Star Trek, TNG, and Voyager, which is not happening anymore. Instead, we're getting mini-series of 1 season is 10 episodes, and it's super, it's all ongoing, and you need to start from the beginning. You can't just enter some random episode and watch it.
Yeah, they make it for people to binge. But that's the thing. I'm saying do 20 episodes, and then you can't get away with a long form story because nobody's going to sit down and watch 20 episodes of an ongoing story, right?
Yeah, but especially nowadays, that shit doesn't work anymore. People just don't want to see that. I actually considered the other day finally getting around to watching Twin Peaks, and then I looked up how many episodes there are, and I just fell out of my chair.
No, Twin Peaks is good.
Yeah, I know it's good. I didn't say it isn't. I said I looked up how many episodes there are.
Bogan, I know, but I genuinely think it's good. I know Daniel said it, but we know about Daniel. I'm saying it's good.
Excuse me. At the very least, you should watch season 1. Season 1 is fantastic. Season 2 of Twin Peaks admittedly does go in weird directions, and not the good weird. Like it starts off fine, and then it gets bad, and then the ending picks back up again, and it gets good, but then it ends before anything's actually resolved. So that's a bummer.
But then there's also a third season.
There is a third season, and I've only seen the first episode of that third season, and it feels nothing like Twin Peaks, which I think is totally intentional. I think David Lynch made that third season as kind of a way to fuck with the fans, because he knew what the fans wanted and expected, and was just like, fuck you guys.
Yeah, but my point, well, first of all, I would still watch it because I don't like TV. Like, I don't quit a season or a series in the middle of the runtime. But my point wasn't that it's bad or that I don't believe it isn't worth my time. My point is it is a lot of time to sit through 50 or 70 or whatever. Like if one season is 26 episodes and it's 3 seasons. And
no, the first season's 8 episodes.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
And the second is over 20?
Yeah, the second is over 20.
Okay.
Which I know it's really
the third one is 2, I think.
I think that if you were to watch
the third season's like 10 episodes or 20 episodes, something like that.
That's not too bad then.
And then there's the movie.
Oh yeah, Fire Walk with Me. I remember when I first watched that movie, I didn't like it very much, but I feel like I would have a different perspective on it now, because a lot of people were angry at that movie because they wanted a continuation of the series, and it was a prequel. But the thing was, the reason why we never got a continuation was because that movie didn't do well. There was going to be more movies, but because that movie didn't go anywhere, financially, it ended up like, stalling the series.
That segues right back into Futurama, a show which never makes money for some reason.
Yeah, that's which is weird because Futurama is such a good show.
But it's also so merchandisable. Like you have ray guns and spaceships, and you have Bender, and you have all these funny jokes and brand stuff you could do with it. I don't get how it doesn't make money, but shit like Family Guy can stay on the air for 20 years.
Bite my shiny metal ass. It doesn't look very shiny. Shinier than yours, meatbag.
That's one of the jokes.
Yeah, you could just put that on a fucking baseball cap or something. Bite my shiny metal ass. There you go. Product.
But you're not a robot.
Let's do one where Stewie is evil and says something dumb. Oh, great. How funny. Oh, I get it. Because he's an evil child, but he also has latent homosexual feelings. That joke hasn't been made 50 fucking times already.
But how come Simpsons is still on and Futurama isn't?
I don't know.
Okay.
It's the same shit. It's the same as with Family Guy. It's like this. I think it's because, and I'm gonna be a bit respectful here to the early seasons of The Simpsons. I think it's because Simpsons is dumb enough that you can just sit down and watch it and you get it. And the meme of Rick and Morty where it's like you have to have a high IQ. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Futurama is like genuinely an intelligent show. Like it is so much smart. It's smarter than Rick and Morty, I would say, by a long shot. And it's like, and not just in that, there's a lot of funny math jokes, the structure and all that stuff.
That's Big Bang Theory.
No, that's Futurama. See, Futurama has like actual good math jokes because it isn't just like, Sheldon. You what is this? I thought you said calendar. You said calculus. Oh my god, isn't that funny? Like that's just
Yes,
that's
the classic
that's
calendar
Big Bang Theory.
calculus Big Bang Theory joke.
I'm not a comedy writer. I'm sorry. No, but the Big Bang Theory, they'll just... I'm going to try again. A joke in the Big Bang Theory is, oh my god, I'm looking for the Higgs boson particle. And then Penny will be like bending down, doing some butt stretches or whatever. And then...
you have never seen that show, right?
Yeah, I have. What's that pervy nerd's name with the bowl cut?
Howard?
Howard. His name is Howard.
Howard
and he'll
Wolowitz.
say, yeah, and he'll say, don't mind the Higgs boson. That there is the Higgs bosom. And he'll be talking about her breasts. Like that's... Maybe I should be a comedy writer. What do you guys think?
Okay, I'm not going to defend Big Bang Theory again. Please continue.
Yeah, I think that one of the big problems with Futurama is it may be too smart for its own good, but even then, like, it's not like... I'm not trying to gatekeep or be like, oh, you can't watch it if you're not smart enough. I just... I don't know. What is it? Why can't that show make money?
I mean, I've never seen it, really. I've seen a few episodes.
Maybe that's why. Not enough people know about it.
Yeah, all
it's also
all the
funny
smart
because-
people just don't tune in. That's an issue.
That's an issue. And dumb people like me and Daniel tune in. It's got the wrong audience. But that's also the problem with it. It's that... that's actually the funny thing about Futurama is... That show stole all the good Simpson writers. And then it kind of limped alive for a few seasons, and then it died. Simpsons got shitty right after Matt Groening took all the remaining good Simpson writers and started working on Futurama. And Futurama is the show that died. Simpsons lived on as like this zombie amalgamation of garbage for another 30 years. But that's Futurama talk.
I feel like I didn't make my point earlier about the runtime. But it's just, I think nowadays people don't want to see something have 25 episodes anymore.
Yeah, it's possible.
It's, like, it sounds like a commitment, even though...
I don't know if it's just me, but I feel like people have become more conscious of how they utilize their time than they've ever been before. They're much more discerning of like, okay, I want to spend a certain amount of time doing a certain activity. And when they see something that is like a commitment for the long term, they're more adverse to doing it compared to before, because we're more aware of like how little time we have in the day compared to all the things that we want to do.
But that's even the thing, though, because it is all standalone with Futurama, it isn't as big a commitment. Because you can't just watch one episode of something like Stranger Things. That's like an ongoing story.
Mm-hmm.
And 13 episodes, each one is like X long, and it is one long movie. Futurama is just like, you sit down for 20 minutes and they have an adventure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know,
right.
that's a reason why, even though people have been like annoying me to watch Hunter x Hunter, that's a reason why I haven't, because I feel like if I'm going to sit down and watch Hunter x Hunter, that's going to consume my life. Because it's not something short. It's like over 100 episodes. And it's a long, continuous storyline. It's something I have to sit down and really focus on, because it's a complicated show from what I've seen. And it's going to be calling back to stuff from earlier episodes. I'm going to have to remember all these characters and their names and stuff. It's not like sitting down and watching a like 12 to 25 episode series where I can finish that off in like a weekend if I wanted to. It's
curious. I mean, you haven't seen Hunter x Hunter, but the arcs are pretty distinguished, I want to say. What you need is you need an understanding of the underlying, like, I don't magic systems, metaphysics, whatever. The energy system. They have a really deep system of I can get this power, and then there's like a fucking table of okay, I have this power, and on the opposite side there's this other power, and then I can kind of, it's like an RPG. I can spec my points here and do this and this, but I'm gonna be bad at these other spells. You kind of need an understanding of that. But the arcs themselves have fairly, like, mostly new characters, where you only need to know Gon and Killua. And then you can just start an arc.
I feel like with Hunter x Hunter, you could probably skip a lot of the filler, and you could probably play a video game while you're watching it.
There is no filler in Hunter x Hunter.
What are you talking about?
There's no filler.
What about the one where they went to Thriller Bark? That wasn't integral to the plot. Gakko Moria doesn't even show up again. He does.
He does.
And that's a One Piece joke.
Only to die again.
No, I think he's alive.
Can we talk about One Piece and how no character ever dies in that fucking show?
Yes, they do. I think Ace died.
Yeah, that's the one character that died.
Like 10 years ago.
That's the one character that is actually dead, and
Rogers
Whitebeard.
died.
Ace and Whitebeard.
Not Gold Rogers.
Who?
Gold Rogers!
Yeah,
King
okay.
Of the Pirates.
Yes, Gold Roger is dead. Okay, that is the premise of the show. Indeed. So we have 3 dead characters. I'm just waiting for the moment where they bring back Mr. 2. Even though he heroically sacrificed himself. And you can hear you can listen to him die on the phone, but he's gonna be back.
Do you remember when the Whitebeard was attacking the Marines and that fucking giant they had, Oars, he died like 4 different times in that goddamn battle. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
He died, and then he died again, and then he died again, and then he died again, and I think he's alive.
Wait, who is alive?
Oars, isn't he? Did he die? Was the final death the final death?
Okay, now I'm not following. Who's Oars?
He's the giant green giant who went with Whitebeard to attack the Marines.
Oh. I have no idea. That's not an important character at all.
No, I guess not. You know what character I hate in One Piece? I hate that Luffy guy. He's so annoying. He's such a shonen anime protagonist of his era, where he doesn't really learn lessons, and he's always smiling, and he's always hungry and eating something, and he's dumb, and he's got like energy, and he has spunk, and that gets him through the day, and he can be serious when he needs to.
Yeah, but when he gets serious,
he never
really
gets
cool.
he never gets his comeuppance. He never gets his comeuppance. He does whatever he pleases, and it just works out for him in the end.
He lost his brother.
Yeah, but that's not on him. I'm saying, like, in the Fishman Island arc, where he, like, oh, I'm gonna go. Jinbei has ordered me not to go. I'm gonna go anyway. That's not, and he doesn't, like, learn a lesson from that.
Yeah.
Like, his brashness is... What are we talking about, One Piece?
Because One Piece is cool. We should talk about One Piece more often.
Except I haven't watched it, so to me this is
Well,
just like
you can...
Whose problem is that, Daniel?
One Piece's.
What are you talking about? You can just go through that in like a weekend, I feel.
Fuck you!
If you skip the
Like
fillers.
800 episodes!
Nah, it's like 900, I think.
There's actually
God.
a One Piece Kai version. But it's
it's like
not called
these-
One Piece Kai, it has some other name.
Where it's
Jack
like,
Bros on Twitter told me.
Here's what you need to
It's like-
actually watch.
It's One Piece Kiwami.
No. It was some kind of pun, but I forgot what it was.
One Piece Kai Kai fruit.
One piece of shit.
Oh.
Haha.
Hey, I had this
Hey.
theory once. It's more of a joke. And I'm not going to share it because it's in really bad taste, I realize. Moving on.
Okay.
So that's Futurama talk.
Okay. Wait, you saw... Okay, I need to hear about this. This next thing that you've done.
Yes. Are you going to introduce it or am I going to
Well,
introduce it?
it's your topic.
Well, I just feel like if you're going to be big man Mr. Host over here.
But it's your thing.
Whatever. I watched the Fullmetal Alchemist movie again, the second one, The Sacred Star of Milos.
I remember that movie being not good.
It's totally fine. I would even go so far as to say it is like a good little in-between adventure in that universe. It's not as good as Fullmetal Alchemist itself, but as just a little side adventure with these characters, it's totally fine.
I remember it being subpar, but I mean, I haven't seen it in a while.
Did you ever see the Conquerors of Shambhala movie?
Yes, a few times.
That is the movie that got me into anime originally.
Interesting. I don't like that movie.
I like it through really big nostalgia glasses, where I realized that I shouldn't like it, but because I watched it a lot.
That's
when I was
fair.
younger.
That's fair. I get that feeling, but like, I don't think it's a necessary movie, especially with the ending that we got from the series. I think that ending was just fine, and I don't think what we saw in Conqueror of Shambhala was at all necessary.
I'll pay that out. I also think that I do like though the opening to Conquerors of Shambhala, where he's like talking to this crazy scientist guy who's working on uranium. I really like that little sequence, and that's probably why I like the Sacred Star of Milos so much, because it's this weird alternate take on real history, kinda. You know, where they have those police officers who are like on these crazy bat gliders with these grapple hooks. That's really fun to see that sort of, not steampunk, but industrial revolution-ish aesthetic technology. Yeah.
I can see that.
I also think that I like, what's her name? What's the character's name? The girl.
Wendy?
No, and it's Winry, and no.
Oh,
the girl in the
really?
movie.
I think I know who you're talking. I forget her name.
The redhead.
Mhm.
It's not Claire or Claudia. It's something like that. I like her, and I like the story with her and her brother, and that lunatic. I'm not going to spoil the movie, but yeah, I think I'd recommend it. I think the wolf chimera animations are terrible, though. It's the only chink in the armor, so to speak. Right?
Asa, would you say you're into anime?
No.
Because
I would say
you just said that movie was what got you into anime.
Oh, well, I probably shouldn't say that.
Would you actually say you're into anime?
No, I it's kind of like I would not say I'm a Zelda fan. I would say I like some Zelda games. I'm not an anime fan. I like some anime. I think that if you're just a blanket anime fan, then you're probably some kind of weird goblin monster. So no offense, Daniel.
I wouldn't call myself an anime fan either.
If I'm a weird goblin monster, then fucking Boken just revels in the shit. He is like a pig, just like rolling around in the muck.
No,
not true
I think
at all.
Boken
But okay,
has some refinement.
So
you know how I discovered the Conquerors of Shambhala movie?
how?
I was in elementary school at the time, and this was when Coldplay they came out with that song "Fix You," and we were watching like and this song was brand new at the time, and I was watching it was like a "Don't Drink and Drive, you dumb kids" video in assembly, and they used that song, and I was like, oh, I like that song. And when I went home, and this is before this song was overplayed everywhere, remember? and I went home and I went on YouTube and I found like an AMV video which used that footage, footage from the movie, and that's how I discovered the movie.
I actually just a few weeks ago listened to "Fix You" on repeat. It was just that kind of mood.
I think
song.
I don't remember this song. I feel like if you played it for me, I'd be like, "Oh yeah, that song." But like, I don't.
You probably
remember.
just need to hear the first 3 notes.
Probably.
It's very iconic.
I'm sure
it's the one. It's the one where they all join the Black Parade. Yeah. Another song which is popular from that era.
Yeah, isn't that My Chemical Romance?
Yeah, that's My Chemical Romance.
It's the one where at the end I think it's the official music video where the fans at a concert are singing the melody with the singer, and they fuck up the melody. Like there's a variation on the melody itself in the second part, and the songs repeat the first part, and I fucking hate it. They just can't get it right.
Interesting.
And it's like this grandiose, oh my god, this entire hall of people is singing our song, and I'm sitting there, you fucked up, you idiot.
You know, we always side on the you don't need to do more sequels. You can just you don't need to remake everything. Don't bring everything back, right? We always side on that. I made that point earlier, right?
Sort of. I think I like remasters just because most of the time they're like, hey, this game could be hard to get nowadays, so here's a way to play it again in like a higher resolution and a higher frame rate. I appreciate that.
I'm more talking about like unnecessary sequels.
Okay.
See, I don't want a sequel to Fullmetal Alchemist. I really don't. That story is perfect.
Yeah.
But
it should be left alone. I agree.
I really would like to see something in that universe again because it's so fun.
So you want a spin-off that takes place in the same universe?
Yeah, I could take that, or even just like crazy fan art. You know, like there's like imaginary Dark Souls on Reddit, and they have like crazy high detailed, landscape paintings which evoke Dark Souls. Do that for Fullmetal Alchemist, or do like I don't even like I would if we got more Fullmetal Alchemist, I would want it to be something just happening in that universe. But I don't know. I don't want anything more from that universe. I feel like it can only go downhill, you know?
Yeah, I could see that.
So those are 2 things that I want brought back. Futurama and Fullmetal Alchemist. Oh, what's that? Ed has his powers again! Undoing the lesson of the first, whatever. You guys can take it from now. Those are my topics.
Okay, Boken, what have you been up to?
Do we talk about Final Fantasy now?
Is that all you want to talk about?
No.
I was thinking we could leave that for later before the break.
I don't know if that's smart.
Why?
Because the essay question is also going to be about Final Fantasy.
It'll segue right into the essay question.
Yeah.
Okay, fine.
Unless you want to roll both topics into one.
No.
No. Yeah, I don't think so either. So we'll leave the FF7 talk for a little later because that's a topic that's overlapping between the two of us.
Okay, so I got around to a bunch of Brandon Sanderson lectures, who is a best-selling author, New York Times.
Of fantasy, I hear.
Fantasy, yes. As he does not get tired of pointing out during the lectures. He is a bit full of himself. And he's giving lectures on creative writing, and these specific, like it's a lecture in the university, BYU, which I still think is in Ohio, but I'm not sure. It's a creative writing class, basically. But he's giving lecture on how to write science fiction and fantasy. And they're just uploading those lectures onto his YouTube channel. And I've been enjoying these a lot, actually. And I think they really started giving me a new understanding of how to parse stories. I mean, the funny thing is, it's a room full of people who want to be writers, and I'm not a writer. I'm a critic in that sense. But it's interesting to see how they approach what they are doing for someone who's trying to, critically assess how a story works. And it's just, I highly recommend checking that out. He's talking about magic systems and world building, and
that would be pretty good for Daniel, I think.
Why?
Okay, I haven't revealed this before, but this one time, Daniel sent me this script, which he wrote. It was a fan script of from Fate Zero.
What the fuck are you talking about?
And I was reading it, and I was like, this new character who was like, Saber fell in love with him and all that, and it was very
my
clearly,
god,
he had
shut the
clearly
fuck up.
written himself into the script. So
I
maybe
did
that
no
would
such thing. I would never do such a thing.
No, I'm sorry. Sorry. I don't know why I'm like this, Daniel. I just am. I can't stop myself.
I would
like
literally
a cat.
never do such a thing.
Acer sees a box, he has to sit in it. Just that.
I can't be anything but true to my nature, you know?
No.
Fair enough, I guess.
Also, I'm gonna edit out all of your protests. And I'm just gonna take that fair enough, I guess. And I'm gonna have you say that when I say you would get something out of that writing class.
You're evil.
Sorry for derailing your topic, Boken.
So as I was saying, it's the lectures are very there's obviously a lot of info on what he does and how he does it, but he gives this kind of understanding of everything needs to fit together in a story, and that is specifically for science fantasy and science fiction and fantasy novels. Like, you have so much room to experiment because you can build your own world and because you can build your own magic systems. And he kind of goes into detail on, okay, so what do I want to do with a story? What is the genre I want to write? It's obviously a science fiction or fantasy world, but what is the plot I'm going to tell? Is it a heist plot? Is it a romance? Is it an adventure? That kind of stuff. And then he just goes into detail on all these things you can decide before you even set out to write the story. Like, what is my setting? And then he goes like, okay, there's a cultural setting and there's a physical setting. So the cultural setting would be stuff like, what is the religion of the world? What is the military practices? What is the politics? What is the economy of the world? And then the material setting would be like, what kind of planet are they on? Is it set in a desert, or is it set in a jungle? Or maybe you can get a bit more creative and there's like whatever. Like he takes a lot of questions from the listeners, and then they come up with, they're on some kind of planet, and every half hour there's some hole opening up in the ground or something, and these people have to live with that. And then he goes to, so how could we write a story from there? And then what kind of story would that adhere to? So, for example, a survival story, because you don't know when it happens, but a hole is opening up in the ground, and we have to build our society around that kind of stuff. And it's interesting to listen to someone who actually comes up with the stories, because you realize how much thought goes into it and how much they're rewriting stuff to actually fit it together. Like, have a bunch of themes and then realize, if I just come up with this kind of magic system and has these and these rules, then I can do this kind of action scene, or I can push this character a certain way. And I don't know, this interconnectivity of the ideas that he's talking about, I found really interesting. And it's just I realized that I started to think differently about stories. So, for example, the other day I went jogging and I listened to a podcast where they talked about the new XCOM game, Chimera Squad, it's called. And I know nothing about XCOM Chimera Squad except it's set after XCOM 2, and like the aliens and the humans are working together, right? Is that right? Like that, I think that's all I heard about that.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Okay. But it's like you're obviously in the other games you're human and you're fighting the aliens. And then I think in between the last game and this one, or this expansion, they got to some kind of truce and now they're working together. And then in my head, I just started spinning these ideas of, okay, if I want to have this narrative of the humans and the aliens are working together now, what would I need to actually make a story from that work? Like, I don't know anything about it, but my mind immediately started spinning with, if I wanted to be coherent, I would have to come up with a new enemy, because now the previous enemy is working with what were the main characters before. So I need a new enemy, and I need that enemy to be strong in some way because he needs to be a threat because it's the main enemy force, and there needs to be some kind of in-universe explanation of how that force is suddenly so strong that it can take on both humans and aliens at the same time. And then, I don't know, I just went into this whole thing just while I was jogging of, okay, maybe the enemy commander, it's like a resistance cell, and the enemy commander has this kind of power where he can give his soldiers specific powers, like he can unlock that in those soldiers, and those could be kind of different units you could have in the game, and then you could come up with a story of why does this enemy commander have that power, and what would be his character, what does he do, is it a story about, sacrificing yourself for the greater good or something. And I realized I only thought about these things because of these lectures, because I tried to make some kind of coherent idea out of a snippet of information I had about a game, and just make it work with, okay, these are my themes, this is the world I'm building, and what else can I fit in there that just, makes a coherent whole. And yeah, so I don't know. That's my way of recommending these lectures, because they're incredibly interesting.
All right.
Yeah. Brandon Sanderson.
Cool.
It's kind of, his last lecture has been uploaded 2 weeks ago or something, and I don't know if he's still recording because of the corona thing going on.
It's really fucked up a lot of people's schedules and ways of doing things, so it's understandable.
But yeah, good shit.
Cool. All right. So before we head into the FF7 discussion, I've been playing Silent Hill 4.
How do you like it?
I want to say it's the least good of the Team Silent games, but the most interesting.
Yes.
Like,
I feel like we've talked about Silent Hill 4 a lot.
It's because it's that fascinating. It's such a weird fucking game. Like, it's not like the other three games at all, except in the sense that it's a third person, horror game. But like,
it didn't even start out as a Silent Hill game originally.
Sort of. It was always meant to be like a Silent Hill spin-off. Like they had always intentionally made it like part of the Silent Hill mythos, but that it initially wasn't supposed to be Silent Hill 4, but then pretty early
it was just the room.
But pretty early on in development they decided that no, this is going to be Silent Hill 4. So that's just based on what I've read. But yeah, so this game, I want to say, I finished the subway world, and I finished the forest world, and I forget which world comes after. I think it might be the water tower, or it might be the apartments. No, not the apartments. The apartments is later. So I think the water tower one might be next. So the reason I'm replaying this game is because I want to do a video, and the video is going to be about how the game. I'm not gonna get too deep into it now, obviously. It's because I want you to watch the video. But the broad strokes is basically how the game conditions the player into a false sense of security, while also making them paranoid, through the use of the apartment. And yeah, I think that's all I'll say. I don't want to get too deep into it because I want you guys to watch the video and be like, "Oh, that's what he meant." So, yeah.
Despite what has been popularized around the internet, Silent Hill 4 was always meant to be connected to Silent Hill and not an unrelated separate horror game that later became a Silent Hill title.
Sounds like you're reading off the wiki.
Every day you learn. I am reading off Wikipedia. So yeah, every day you learn something new. Did you ever read that Jeremy Blaustein interview where he talked about personal spaces?
Yeah, I was actually contemplating using a quote from that in the script, but I'm still thinking about whether that'd be revealing my hand too much or whatever.
Ooh.
So yeah, Silent Hill 4, really interesting game, really weird game, really not the best place to start if you want to get into Silent Hill. I would strongly recommend playing through 1 through 4 first, or 1 through 3 first.
Just play them in order.
Yeah, play them in order. And then you could stop and pretend that nothing else Silent Hill related was ever made.
They made that weird playable teaser that one time for something, but that's its own thing.
That's
I want to check that out.
Though,
where is it?
You can't play it.
Oh yeah. I think I have it somewhere.
The only other Silent Hill related thing I could recommend is Shattered Memories. But aside from that, you could...
Oh yeah, you've mentioned that before.
It's good. It is surprisingly good.
Silent Hill good, or just it's a thing that is
differently good.
All right.
I would actually say that it being a Silent Hill title does more harm than good. It would have been better if it was its own thing.
It's not like The Walking Dead, Telltale's The Walking Dead, is it?
No.
No. I've only seen screenshots of that game. I never quite get what it's about.
What is that comparison?
Yeah, I don't know what that why you compared them.
Like you're just pressing buttons to choose dialogue options, and that's the game.
No, that's not the game.
No, okay.
No, the game is primarily comprised of 3 gameplay segments where one, you're running away from enemies and hiding from them. Exploration segments where you're walking around and you're flashing your flashlight on stuff and you're solving minor puzzles, very, very easy minor puzzles.
Boy, that sounds exciting.
And then you're doing these therapist segments where you're being asked questions and the game is psychologically profiling you. And
are you describing Shattered Memories, or are you describing that forgotten PlayStation 4 exclusive Until Dawn?
I'm not talking about Until Dawn. I've never played that game.
Sounds similar.
Probably a coincidence.
Hiding.
All I know about Silent Hill is from the Zero Punctuation reviews I've seen 1 billion times. And I remember
And from my videos on it, right?
What?
And from my videos, right?
Well, I haven't seen your videos because I don't know the games.
They're good.
But I remember Yahtzee making fun of that psychological analysis thing in Shattered Memories. And how it got him completely wrong. But then when he said what the game said about him, I couldn't tell if it was a joke or not.
I mean, you shouldn't take Yahtzee very seriously anyways. I feel like he's 80% hyperbolic criticism for the sake of entertainment and 20% actual genuine criticism. But
yeah,
yeah.
sure.
But yeah,
He's
so
the guy with the yellow background.
He
right?
said that the psychological review told him he's a family person and he's very tidy. And then that he's possibly shitty in bed.
well, they got that part right.
Well, but yeah, well, that was the joke. That was the joke he was leading up to, and I can tell that was a comedy bit, but I can't actually tell if the game would tell you you're a family person and you're very tidy.
I don't remember, to be honest.
Okay.
But you do get different endings depending on like how you act. And the game does keep track of like weird stuff that you do. Like even if you like if you're examining the environment, if you examine certain things, the game calculates that as well and can affect the ending you get. So that's one aspect of the game in particular I'm not totally a fan of, because those exploration segments are really fun because it's cool to walk around the environments and just look at stuff, because the environments are actually really well done for like a Nintendo Wii game. They're actually pretty like detailed, and you want to look at everything because it's enjoyable. And then that you're kind of in a way punished for it by by ways of like an ending you don't want to get, because like let's say you look at a strip club sign or something like that's the game going like, aha, you're a pervert, so you might like get like weird results because of that.
But that's very Silent Hill 2, though, where you look at the knife and that pushes you towards the in-water ending.
Yes, that's true.
I've only seen the non-Team Silent Hill games through screenshots and like little video snippets.
So I've seen
it's incredible to me that visually the series peaked on the PlayStation 2.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, you're not even wrong. Although I will say that Shattered Memories actually does look very good. But like, the 2 and 3 especially, and to a lesser extent 4. I don't think 4 looks as good as 2 and 3, but still those games.
No, it has the first person really hurts it with the texturing.
Sure. Although I will argue
ugly.
that like it being in first person is very good, like in terms of what the game is trying to do.
Oh yeah, I'm just talking visuals.
Yeah,
also
visually,
the animations when you're in third person, it's sort of it hurts the game that it doesn't use hand controls.
Sure. But yeah, Silent Hill 4, interesting game. If you're interested though, I don't recommend it as your first game. It doesn't really give a good impression of the rest of the series because it's so not like the rest of the series. But yeah, cool game. Look forward to a new video on it. And now we can talk about Final Fantasy VII Remake. Woohoo!
Yay!
So
Are we jumping into the essay topic?
No, we're gonna do the essay topic
okay.
after.
Then
after
let me ask you guys a question.
Okay.
What's the deal with Final Fantasy? It's not fantasy, and it's not the final one.
Well, it is fantasy.
Hey, you ruined my joke. Don't do that.
don't do that.
Took a while for that Seinfeld theme to come in.
Don't do that. Copyright.
I don't think Jerry Seinfeld's gonna hit us up for money. I think that was very warranted. I feel like I've accomplished something with this episode. Now, what was it like? Is it good?
It's complicated. It's good and not good at the same time.
What's the deal with good? It doesn't even mean good.
Okay, so if you wanted a 1-to-1 remake, this is not it.
No.
I would say I think that's why some people are kind of angry about it being called a remake, because it kind of is and it kind of isn't. So the game adds a lot of stuff and changes a lot of stuff. And there are
Hill 1 actually looks really good too.
What?
Anyway, Silent Hill 1, that visual aesthetic has actually.
Dude, we moved on from Silent Hill.
I know. I'm sorry.
Okay. So yeah, just to be clear, I've beaten Final Fantasy VII. Boken, I don't think you've touched the original.
No.
So okay, playing the remake kind of like blind. How did you feel about it going into it and not knowing what was like the original and what was new?
In what aspect, though?
No,
just generally? Or?
Yeah, generally, like, did it make you want to play the original or did it make you go like, what the fuck? No.
Well, I can tell you, the combat is so garbage that I wanted to actually switch to turn-based. So, that's something.
Interesting. I don't think I hated the combat quite that much, but I did have a lot of problems with it. Because like, especially since you and I are really into very skill-based action games, that something like this is innately frustrating for us because the dodge is such garbage.
It is the worst. It is so bad.
Like, I hate it so much.
It doesn't work. The dodge button does not work. There are like
because it has no
2 or 3 attacks you can actually dodge, and the rest is either has no wind up or it just follows you around the screen, and you might as well not dodge at all. And I don't get it. I don't get the system. I don't know why this needs to be action. I don't know why they need to be other party members. It's just an action game for me is responsive and it's fast and I can dodge stuff and I can block, and when I attack I have combo opportunities and all that stuff, and nothing of that is here. It plays like one, but it doesn't function like one at all.
It has the feel of like an RPG that's like wearing the skin of an action game.
Yeah, and you get the worst out of both worlds.
Yeah, I feel bad for the developers because like it feels like they were trying the best they could to find like a middle ground between like an action game and staying true to the the turn-based mechanics of the original game. And the idea that like you're supposed to switch constantly between characters and, being able to open up the menu and cast spells and stuff like that while introducing the more visceral nature of action combat. But I feel like this compromise didn't quite work, and I feel like they should have gone harder into the action game elements so that the mechanics would feel tighter. So like, I feel like a lot of the moves in particular that you get from the purple materia should be moves that you just have.
Yeah, absolutely.
Look, so like, you have one called the deadly dodge, where like after you dodge, you immediately go into an attack. Why can't I just do that naturally? You have the parry materia, where you get a dodge that has iframes. Why isn't that my dodge?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I tried the parry materia because people on Twitter said, this is the dodge you're looking for.
Oh my god, really. You guys.
Yeah, the problem with it is that
we interrupt this podcast to bring you important news. The world deadlifting record has been met.
Dude, what? I don't care.
What?
What does that have to do with anything?
Hafþór Björnsson, an Icelander, might I add, probably he's a good nephew of mine or something, just beat the world deadlifting record by 1 kilogram, dude, like a scumbag.
Dude, stop.
Well, fine.
What? Come on, stop.
I feel like you No, I'm joking. I missed the live stream for this podcast.
Okay, whatever.
He played the mountain of Game of Thrones.
You totally ruined my train of thought. Like, fuck off.
Do you remember, Daniel, a few episodes ago when you did this exact same thing to me?
Oh, this is revenge?
I do actually know the mountain on Game of Thrones.
Yeah, he beat the world deadlifting record just this moment.
Okay.
Like 3 weeks ago when you're listening to this, listener.
Okay, so going back to Final Fantasy VII, you piece of shit. So like, I feel like not a bigger issue, but another issue that I had that really fucking annoyed me is that you can't manage your materia during battle. This was so frustrating because I usually used the elemental materia, which, it's a blue materia that you have tied to usually a magic materia, and I would usually put like lightning or fire, so because it adds extra damage to your attack. The problem with this is like if you're in a battle and you're up against an enemy that like is either resistant or absorbs that element, you're going to be doing a lot less damage. And then you either have to like just deal with it, or you have to like press start and then reload before the battle, and then manage your materia. And it's so annoying. I don't understand.
And I don't understand why there aren't loadouts. Like that's the one
exactly
thing
what
that
I was
I just
gonna say.
need.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I don't understand why they, one, don't let you just go into the menu and change it, or two, at the very least, if they don't want you to do that, to just have loadouts. I think a loadout would also be really good for all these different weapons that you get. I really like the idea that you have different weapons that are not inherently better or worse than each other, but just have different specialties. You have the Buster Sword, which is the most balanced. You have the Twin Stinger, which has the best magic. And if we have different loadouts, you could actually switch to the Twin Stinger if you need Cloud to be a mage at that particular moment. But because the Buster Sword is so good in every situation, you're just going to be using that the whole game. Unless you want the extra damage, or unless you want like the more magic, then maybe that's what your playstyle caters to, and that's fine. But again, I think it would just give these weapons more utility if we have the different loadouts. And it would also solve this issue with the materia of, okay, you're fighting an enemy that's weak against ice, but your sword has the ice element on it. Well, you have this other loadout that has fire. Problem solved. But then if you're just stuck with that element, then you're just going to be dealing garbage damage unless you reload the battle. And who wants to do that?
Yeah.
Who?
Yeah, totally. Or you need to just go to another character that you don't want to play.
Mm-hmm. Although I'd say like the only character I didn't like playing as was Aerith. I liked playing as Tifa, and I liked playing as Cloud, and I liked playing as Barrett.
Is there like a Aerith Tifa debate like there was for Neon Genesis, for Rey and Asuka? Yeah. Is there a debate?
No, the discussion has shifted. It has pivoted now to, instead of who is the best girl, to these girls need to get married and be a power lesbian couple.
Yes. Also, Jessie is incredibly horny now, I gather.
Yes, and Jessie is now extremely thirsty, and everyone loves her for that.
So dumb. Why can't he just be a two-dimensional character again?
It's funny because it is funny because like, I mean, yeah, there's not. They have added to her because she was literally a nothing character in the original. They have added to her, but like, comparing the pacing of the remake to the original, like the original just felt so brisk compared to this. Like, there are some parts where I feel like the remake does expand on parts where I'm like, okay, it makes sense to expand this, or okay, this new scene is good. But there are parts where I'm like, wow, this just feels padded. This feels bloated.
I don't fucking need to run around town and look for a bunch of kids or a bunch of cats.
Yeah,
that happens twice or 3 times in the game.
So like, every single side quest was not in the original.
Yes, I assumed as much.
Like,
I mean, side quests weren't really a thing back then.
I mean, there technically were some side quests in the original, but like not like this.
Not with like a quest list and quest givers.
No, yeah, there was nothing like that in the original.
Yeah.
There
you
was
need to collect X many blank items for X character.
Yeah, it was like most of the side quests in the original was like trying to get like more powerful materia or like getting the ultimate weapons, or there was that one side quest where you go to Wutai and there's like a whole thing there.
Wutai. You know what side quest I hate? Getting 10 fire salts for the blacksmith in Riften. I never talked to that guy, yet I always seem to get that quest.
Riften?
It's Skyrim.
Oh. Okay.
I haven't played Final Fantasy VII Remake. You guys are having a conversation.
But you've played the original.
Yeah, I've played the original.
Yeah.
So do you have any questions about the remake?
Yeah, but I've asked you all the questions off air.
Okay.
Let me ask you a question. You say, one of the big problems with this is that you're remaking one of the most beloved games of all time.
Yes.
There is no way to make everybody happy. There's just no way to do it, and it's unreasonable to expect that of them. Okay. But is this something you think people will have very endearing feelings towards 10 years from now? Like 10 years from now, do you think this will be as fondly remembered as Final Fantasy VII is today?
No.
What do you think, Bogan?
We just saw the first third or something.
Here's not even the first third.
Jesus fuck.
Like I think you've underestimated how much they added in the remake compared to how it was in the original.
Do you mean how much they padded?
Like in the original, this was like a 5 to 6 hour segment of the game.
Really?
Yeah, it's like Midgar, 5-6 hours.
Holy fuck!
You had, you had no idea. Like,
oh no!
The pacing of the original was actually pretty tight. Like it was really well paced.
The worst thing is I didn't even hate the pacing. Like there's something about JRPGs where I can just sit down because they're usually very linear. And I just do one thing after the other, and one thing leads to the other. And I'm kind of curious to what character am I going to get next? What power am I going to get next? It always drags me along. That worked also really well.
You probably would enjoy
when I replayed Final Fantasy IX recently. I just kept going, and I didn't mind. So I don't hate the pacing of this, but I can, a lot of it feels like padding. The side quests are not particularly good. That whole thing with the train graveyard that didn't seem to amount to anything.
Dude,
oh yeah.
Dude, that train graveyard, I shit you not, that was one screen in the original.
I think it was 2 screens, but one of them was optional. You played it more recently than me. I recall it being 2 screens and one of them being optional. Was it just 1 screen?
I think it was 1 screen. Maybe you're right. Maybe it was 2, but like it was literally just it was just solving the puzzle of like moving the trains around so that you can walk up and get to the end of the screen, and that was it, right? And you fought some enemies, and that was literally it. And in the remake, they turn it into this whole fucking thing where you fight these ghosts, and these ghosts need to be put to rest or whatever. And I'm just like, why wasn't this a side quest? Like, they put it right before the plate drops, and it screws up the urgency of the situation.
No.
Like, it's so bad.
Oh,
and
that's right.
I was
Cloud
looking
is
at
running in that sequence.
I was looking at it from the perspective of having just watched a bunch of Brandon Sanderson lectures where he talks about how important it is to have a coherent mesh where your themes match up with what is shown at any point. And I was like, how the fuck does these dumbass ghosts fit into anything? Because they're not the plot ghosts, they're some other kind of ghost.
Literally the only good thing that came from that train graveyard is you had that one scene where Aerith has a memory from when she was a little girl. I really liked that moment. That was really good.
And at that moment I thought, okay, so this is maybe about, this town and people losing other people, people just losing their way in life, and then just like the ghosts are just haunting this place and they don't even know why or something. But I don't need a fucking 3 or 4 hour session of fighting the same ghost over and over to get that message.
Where you eventually kill God.
And I wouldn't even have minded it as much if it was an optional thing, because like it was placed in such a bad spot. Like, we just found out that Shinra's going to drop the plate, and then this is where you put this segment? Like, I understand that was what happened in the original, where they had to get through the train graveyard. But again, in the original, it was literally just 1, maybe 2 screens. You were done. Like,
the point of the train graveyard in the original was there's a lot of broken down pieces of garbage here because the city isn't in good repair.
Right.
There are slums here. That's the point.
Yeah, and in that sense, like, it added to the sense of urgency, because you're like, fuck, this place is such a mess. I have to get through this garbage just to get to where I'm supposed to get to. Yes. But yeah, in the remake, it just like diverts your attention away from that with this stupid subplot that doesn't have fuck to do with shit.
How long are the cutscenes this time around? Are we talking 10 minutes?
They're not Kojima.
Yeah, well, nothing is Kojima dumb as shitty style.
They're not that bad, but they are longer than the original. And to be fair, that isn't just because they've added scenes. It's also because, like, when you're reading something, that's naturally going to be a lot faster than having to sit and wait and hear the characters actually speak out all those lines.
Yeah, well, the cutscenes in the original were just like there were 6 of them or something. There was Cloud on a motorcycle. There was Sephiroth standing in the fire. Mm-hmm. There was the plate dropping in Midgar. I mean, the other thing, that's just scripted.
Well, Sephiroth in the fire, that wasn't even, you don't even see that in Midgar. That was later.
Yeah, I'm saying I mean in the entire game there were more than 4. Being a bit.
Speaking of Sephiroth, that's another thing that I thought was really weird. I mean, I get why the remake did it, but like in the original game, you don't see Sephiroth at all in the Midgar section. You don't see what he looks like once in the Midgar section.
You can't really do that now because Sephiroth is now super famous, and you can't just reveal Sephiroth and then go like, "Ooh my God, did you see that coming?" Because everyone saw it coming.
No, yeah, I get it. I get why they did it the way they did, but I can't help but still prefer how they did it in the original, because like there was so much build up to his character.
Yeah, because they did a shit job in what they tried to do here, because they don't explain what he is at all.
No, yeah, like
if you show him, I need to understand what he is.
It's even more confusing because the implication is that this Sephiroth that you see is the same Sephiroth from the original game, who's time traveling or some shit.
Oh God, let's go there later.
Let's go there later. I had a question. You were talking about the padding in the game. I'm wondering, the way this is presented now, without getting into spoilers, can they do Nibelheim?
Yeah.
Can they do it, or is it just going to be, here's a bunch of extra shit?
They're about to go to Nibelheim.
See, here's the thing, right? The way that the remake is structured, it's like a lot of the original game is still intact. It's just stretched out with, there's like expanded scenes, there's remixed scenes, there's added scenes, but a lot of the original content is still technically there. Okay. But
it's not like is the sequence on the train in the Nibelheim time sequence, is that going to be replaced with a cutscene?
It's possible. I don't know.
See, I think that would be horrible. Because it's such a good moment in the game.
Where
and I can't.
Where like Cloud just gets to talk to the people on the train.
No, the battle sequence.
Oh, you mean with the big snake?
Yes.
Like where you and Sephiroth fight alongside each other, and then like Sephiroth just like destroys that thing in like seconds.
Yeah, slight spoilers, Bogan. I was going to try to avoid it, but Daniel spoiled it kind of.
It's not a big deal.
It's fine. Actually, it's not
Cloud
fine.
And Sephiroth, Cloud and Sephiroth fought together in a little flashback sequence you play through in the original. And it's a really good introduction for Sephiroth because his health bar is like 10 times bigger than yours, and he one-hits everything, and everything one-hits you.
Yes.
So he's just he carries you through every combat encounter.
This is true.
And that is so like, what is the word? Ludonarratively beautiful, because you play the game as usual. They just change the stats on your health and on your damage output. Are they going to be able to do that with how the game works now?
I think so. No. Why not?
Because first of all, you can decide to just not play Sephiroth. And second of all...
No, you don't play Sephiroth. Sephiroth is automated, I believe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Sephiroth does whatever he wants.
But it's like you can just run around the arena. And this off-screen Sephiroth is just going to kill everything while you're not looking?
Yeah, that's also like the tactic. Like that's the turn-based strategy element of it is that you can't just run away from the enemies. You are going to be hit by them.
Yes.
The point is going to be made.
Yeah,
they
no
can't
matter
emulate that now without just making it a cutscene.
Yeah, I think that would be a lot harder for them to replicate properly. I think they could still probably do it, but
there
might
must
be right.
Some way.
They might just turn into a cutscene, which would be lame.
That would be lame. Because Nibelheim is my favorite part of the game, and it's such just a straight shot. It's like an hour long in its entirety, and it's just this wonderful, well-directed piece of you just play this here little story. I would hate to see that be, Cloud, you've come back. Please go find my cat. He's in the mountains. And then you have to follow him for 20 minutes.
I mean, I don't think they would add any side quests during the flashback sequence, at the very least.
No, we hope not.
But they will probably do that when you go to the actual Nibelheim in the present time. They probably will add some side quests.
You and I know why they will do that. Boken doesn't know.
Yeah.
Okay, can we talk about the ending? I mean, there's so much more to say, but...
Sure, let's talk about the ending.
Can we talk about the fucking ending? It's not even... it's not only the ending. It's last 3 to 4 hours of the game.
See, I've only heard you guys vaguely talk about it. The way I understand it is that Sephiroth...
Spoilers, by the way. Full spoilers.
Yes, spoilers. Sephiroth from the original game comes and he brings these guardians or enemies of the timeline or whatever to wail on you, and then he disappears to change his trajectory in the story going forwards. Is that what happens?
Yes.
Oh my God.
He gets you to fight the concept of destiny.
Yes.
And you defeat the concept of destiny. And that basically means we can now do our own story.
They're not doing their own story, though. It's a remake.
Well,
the thing is, though, right? Like, I feel like this is all one big metaphor for the developers to be like, hey, this is like really stressful for us, and I'm sure it's stressful for you, but like we're gonna make big changes now, and it's scary for you, but it's also scary for us, and we're gonna get through this together, or something like that. But it's like, why not just do the changes?
Exactly. Why not just tell a new story? Why do you need this dumb meta shit that no one understands who didn't play the original? Why? the whole tonal shift at the end of the game is so fucking bad for the last like 3 hours, because you go up the Shinra building. You set out to just you set out to
Do you run up the stairs?
Yeah, I did. And you set out to rescue Aerith.
Mm-hmm.
And then you make it all the way up the Shinra Tower because you need to escape. And at the end, you find the president. And, you know, for some reason he gets killed by Sephiroth, I don't know. And at that point, the story still makes sense because they have a goal. There's a sensible time and place that you are in, and they have a goal as eco-terrorists to bring down Shinra in some way or the other. And they're about to achieve their goal. At least, you know, they set out to save Aerith at least, and they are going to escape. And then it fucking goes nuts. And then suddenly you're fighting this weird, what is it, Genova?
Yes.
Thing
Yeah, Genova.
that they, I don't know, they did experiments on it or something. That was not explained at all, I think.
It's explained literally in the next section in the original game.
Yeah.
Yeah, great. But out of nowhere, you have mostly been fighting mechs or like weird fucked up creatures that clearly look like an experiment, and then suddenly this fleshy, like a final boss looking thing attacks you, and it's called something Genova, and you fight that, and then Sephiroth shows up, and then Genova, when you kill it, it turns into this weird monk, these weird hooded figures that have been in the game 2 times or something before, and they didn't get explained at all, and then Sephiroth takes that dude and jumps off the building. I don't know why. And then suddenly some other Shinra guys is coming up to you and you have to fight him. And then you try to leave the city, and then you have a whole motorbike chase, and suddenly you're fighting Shinra dudes again and then Shinra machines. It is all over the place. No, it is. It drove me mad because I felt like the game was ending 3 or 4 times.
So
do you want to know what happens in the original game after you run up the tower to Shinra?
I was going to say, Acer, I don't remember fighting Genova that early. I don't think you do, right? I don't remember. No,
you don't. I think you fight it first in the cargo ship.
In the ship, right? In the ship?
Yeah, that's from memory.
I think so.
I think you fight the helicopter or something there, right? No, I think you fight guys, and the elevator is also in the battle.
Okay, I remember fighting the mech inside the elevator in the original. But you still technically fight that mech in the remake, but you just don't fight it in the elevator. You fight it in a room.
Bogan, do you know what happens in the original game after you run up the tower?
No.
Take a guess.
You escape?
You escape.
Yeah, pretty much.
And then you get to Nibelheim.
Does the president die?
Yes.
Does his son show up?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, but you don't fight him.
You do fight Rufus, yes.
Yeah. You don't fight the president?
No, you don't fight.
No.
When in the original, the president is already dead when the team.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
And Sephiroth's sword is stuck in him, and everyone's just like, "Whoa, what's going on?" Like everyone is just like completely flabbergasted. And they're just like, "Wait, Sephiroth was here? What happened?" There's like there was like a blood trail that was leading to that room. So it's really good. It's really well done. It's like building up to this, and then it's just that moment of just like, whoa, what happened here?
But in the remake, the blood trail is still there, but the president is alive.
Yeah.
And Sephiroth kills him after the fact. Comes in after the fact and kills him.
Yes. So not as good, in my opinion, as the original, where the original has all this intrigue, and it's just like, what happened here? And
yeah. Can I ask you, who's the writer on this? Nomura is directing it. Is he involved in the story too?
Yes. He didn't write it by himself, but I don't think it was solely written by one person.
No.
But then again, the original wasn't solely written by one person either, right? Like it was partly written by Kitase. It was partly written by Sakaguchi. It was partly written by,
the entire project was led by Sakaguchi. And he had like the background of the entire Final Fantasy catalog at that point, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, Sakaguchi, I think, was producing.
He was producing it, but he was the overseer of everything.
Yes, he was. He might as well have been like co-director. Like he was very hands-on.
He was the creative lead on the project,
and he obviously had nothing to do with the remake.
I'm wondering how evident is it that he's not on board?
I mean, you could argue that it's been evident that he hasn't been on board since Final Fantasy VII.
But just as a comparison case, what is missing, do you think?
I mean, that's hard to quantify.
I feel like, just from what you guys have said, there is the issue of general structure, where this narrative doesn't work when you chop it off, because Genova doesn't make sense without the Nibelheim incident, and Sephiroth doesn't make sense there either.
But Genova isn't a thing throughout most of the game. It comes out of nowhere.
Yeah, but see, Genova is going to become a thing.
Yeah, I realize.
And it's like this entire narrative. You can't just chop it off and expect like a third of it or a fourth of it to stand on its own. So that I'm willing to say that's not something that I don't think you can. See, I'm wondering, you can't blame the team on that, because they should have retold the beginning to work as a single chapter. But then, 20 years from now, when all parts have released, you're going to be able to play through it all in one go.
And hopefully...
200 hours of fun.
And hopefully, fingers crossed, right? Like, they improve the combat as the parts go on.
But it's also, the story is going to work better as a whole.
Hopefully.
But, okay, here's the problem of the game. Speaking as someone who has not played the original, this game is both trying to do its own thing, and at the same time it shackles itself to the original, to where if you haven't played it, it doesn't make any sense. Because it's alluding to things you don't know about, and it rearranges stuff you shouldn't be knowing about if you haven't played the original. But at the same time, it's trying to do, well, the original doesn't matter that much, we're doing our own thing. So who the fuck is the audience for this?
I wouldn't go as far as to say that, like, oh, the original doesn't matter that much, because the developers have said multiple times that they are hoping that people who had never played the original game will play the remake and then want to play the original. That's one of the things I do appreciate about the remake, is that it's trying hard not to be a substitute for the original game. They want it to be like a companion piece.
Can I ask you, is there any section of the original game, any level or area, which they have removed? Because I'm wondering if
trying
modders,
to remember. I don't.
If the crazy modding community can get into the files of Final Fantasy Remake and just update the visuals of the original game. Just take a screenshot, recreate the backgrounds, do new models, and just kind of remake the game with the 3D from the remake being used as the basis of the pre-rendered models.
I don't think that's possible. I don't know if that's actually feasible.
No.
But
if you're, well, everything's possible if you're willing to do enough work. I'm just wondering. See, I just want to play the original Final Fantasy VII. It's so good.
You can do that. The original is really easy to get a hold of. Like,
those old PlayStation graphics. No.
Or you could get the PC version. You can mod it.
I'm doing a character, Daniel. Please.
I'm just saying the PC version is very easy to mod right now.
Yeah.
But anyways.
But Daniel, what you just said about this being a companion piece to the original, that makes me even fucking angrier. because I paid $70 for a remake. And if you are starting the story from scratch, then I expect things to be revealed and explained in a logical manner.
I agree. And as someone, it's a little harder for me because like I already know the original, so playing it like I'm playing it from that perspective. But I do totally agree that for someone like you, it's a lot shittier because like you're just like, what the fuck is this? What is this alluding to? I don't get it. Like, that's not fair to you.
And yeah, I also have to question, what is the point even of a remake if it's not to introduce new people to this thing or to retry what you've already tried and maybe, do a better version of it. Something you couldn't have done 20, 30 years ago. Maybe you can do it now. I don't know. But if the point of the ending is we can do our own thing now, then what is the point?
Okay, I think what you're trying to say is if the point was to do its own thing, why is it still so reliant on the original that this can't be enjoyed as its own thing?
Reliant on the original to the point where it's a companion piece where I only understand it if I have played the original.
Yeah, totally. I would say that I would not recommend the remake at all if you haven't played the original game. Now, I've seen some people say like, "Oh, I never played the original game and I still love the remake," and that's cool. Whatever, people are different, but just based on what I played of the remake, I totally get your complaints. It makes
it's only
sense.
the ending. The ending though is the problem. Up to that, the story made perfect sense. I mean, you have a giant. You have a well-designed city. You have an understandable eco-terrorist cell that is trying to take down the company that is ruining the planet and keeping the city alive. That's okay. I got it. Thanks.
Yeah, and that's because most of that was adhering to the original for the most part. Like, they added a bunch of shit, like that whole sequence where you help Jessie like sneak into a Shinra facility so she can get bombs. That was never in the original. Like, they added a bunch of shit.
That didn't lead to anything?
Yeah, it didn't lead to anything because it wasn't in the original.
Yeah.
It felt like that was more of an excuse to like introduce that character Roche, who we never see again.
Nah.
But
he was pretty fun though.
I did like him.
I enjoy all the Turks. The Turks are fucking amazing.
Dude, yeah. I love the Turks. They're so good. And I like how they're like forced to do shitty things and they don't like it. Because like they're the ones responsible technically for like dropping the plate, and then afterwards they're talking to Sang, and they're like, Sen, that sucked. We didn't have to do that. Like, why did we have to go that far? And then Sang is just like, oh, whatever, it's your job, just do it. Like,
what is that?
Just like,
what is the bald guy called? I forget his name.
Rude,
yeah. That is like that. I've been down on the game, but I actually enjoyed playing through it up until the end. And so I really like the cutscenes.
So here's the thing. I don't know if you picked this up about Rude. Rude has a huge crush on Tifa.
Okay.
And like when you're fighting against him, he never attacks Tifa. And if you, as Tifa, try to attack him, he will passively like try to knock her out, but without actually hurting her. I think that's such a neat detail, and it's something that was carried over from the original game. Whenever you're fighting against Rude and Tifa's in your party, he never attacks Tifa. It's just a cool little character detail.
Interesting. But it also wasn't the original.
Yes, this was in the original.
But like the Turks have so much personality, which I think is because of the cutscenes now. They're very different in how they act, but also I really enjoy just Rude and when he gets punched and you destroy his sunglasses and he just brings out another pair.
Yeah, he just takes out another one. And I really liked Reno in this game as well. Like, they're just, and their theme is so good. Like, I love how they recreated the theme. The music in general is really good in this game.
Yeah, the music I was most positively surprised by, because I was scared of the this is going to be an all orchestral soundtrack, because orchestral soundtracks usually are very bland and have no energy. But the orchestral soundtracks in this have a lot of energy, which I didn't expect. But also there's a bunch of other musical genres, like there's some jazzy stuff. There's this fucking song of the Beck's Crew, which is reggae and electro and weird distorted vocals in there. It's so all over the place, and it fits so perfectly to these dumbass thieves who have no plan in what they're doing, and they're just bumbling through life. It's so good.
Yes, I totally agree. And the reason why is because I want to say like maybe 80 to 90% of the tracks are just remixes of old songs from the original, and the original songs were that good. Even though the original the tracks were in MIDI format, and that was like the biggest thing holding them back, but like the actual songs themselves were just they were so good that just remaking them with actual instruments, the power of the compositions comes through so well.
They're always playing those songs in like Square Enix will have an event and they'll just have an orchestra to play a couple of songs from it. And there's a lot of YouTube channels which have made it their bread and butter to just do orchestral renditions of the original Final Fantasy VII songs.
Or like metal versions, or just a cappella, just like whatever. Like people have like remade those songs a million times because they're that good.
But I have to
imagine...
My
favorite is the Game Over theme. There's like a real... And there's one which is really jazzy. Do you remember which one that is?
In the original or...
In the original.
Okay.
I mean, the original had a lot of songs. I don't know which one specifically you're talking about. But like Vincent's theme in the original, that feels like an acoustic guitar song. Like that has that feeling to it, even though either that or like a strings quartet or something like that. Like those songs are so strong, and they were just like mostly held back by the fact that it's MIDI. And it's so good to hear them reimagined for this version, for this remake.
There's also a lot more of it, I have to assume, because I know there's this one, very famous battle theme, and in this...
Right?
Is it that? I don't know.
Well, yeah, like the main battle theme was remixed a bunch of times.
Yeah,
in the remake.
It's remixed, and it has different intensities. And also different arrangements where, you expect this, okay, the melody goes this, and now comes this part. And then suddenly in this remix or in this new arrangement of that song, suddenly it goes a completely different way and then comes back around to the original track and all that. I assume that was not in the original game, like these specific arrangements. And I have enjoyed these a lot. Like I've listened to the soundtrack, and all the different variations on the battle track are really good.
From memory, fiddling around with the OST, I think they had maybe 4 different renditions of the battle theme.
Did they?
I
don't remember.
So. Like one of them, I remember. Maybe I had because I used symphonic. I got permission to use like a symphony rendition of those songs when I made my video. I just distinctly recall there being 4 battle themes or something like that, being like battle theme version 1, version 2, or something. I may be thinking of another video though.
Okay.
That's
well.
That's 8 seconds without audio.
Well, Boken, you wanted to talk more about the ending?
Yeah. Well, it's a tonal nightmare because you go from this sensible city to Sephiroth opens up a rift to another dimension, and suddenly you're fighting a concept.
Ugh.
Yes.
And the concept itself has generals, and the generals are like versions of your characters from from the original
it's
timeline.
No, so like it's actually theorized that those 3 different colored ones, like the red one and the yellow one, the blue one, that those are actually like a reference to some characters from the Advent Children movie.
Oh my god!
I don't.
See, Bogan, you know a story is being told well when, to explain it, Daniel needs to say, "Well, it's been theorized."
Yeah,
but the generals have a sword. One fights with his fists, and one has a gun. I wonder what characters these represent.
No, yeah, that's true, but that's also similar to those characters from the Advent Children movie, where one has a gun, one has a sword, and one fights with his fists.
But the point of the ending is that you defeat your own destiny, so it would make sense that you beat yourself.
I agree.
Like you beat yourself
and I hope
from the
that's what
original
it is.
timeline.
I hope that's what it is, because that would be
But
better,
even that is terrible. Like,
wouldn't it be a bit cathartic to beat up those Advent Children characters, though?
Yeah, I can't deny that.
It's just you don't need that meta shit. You just tell a different story.
I played it in Japanese. I play in Japanese, Acer, so I don't know if the English dub is any good or not.
All I know is that George Newbern, Superman, played Sephiroth, and he does good work.
Okay.
He played him in the Advent Children movie.
Personally,
what did you think of the English dub, Boken? He asks.
I listened to it in the demo, and then I realized they fucked up Barrett so hard that I switched to Japanese.
How did they screw up?
He's so very dark and grizzled and serious in the dub, and he's super kooky in the original. In the Japanese, like in the original voices.
He's also kooky in the original.
I love how in Japanese, when Cloud is like, "Oh, you really believe that?" and he's like, "Damn right." Cloud's just like, "Get help," and then in Japanese, Barry's like, "Damn it!"
Yeah. The Japanese Barrett has an extreme range. From sometimes he's really inspirational and sensible, and then sometimes he just yells at people for no reason. And the dub is always this very serious, grizzled black guy voice, like, "Oh, Daddy's here," you know,
like a blander Mr. T kind of.
Well, to be fair, when he talks to his daughter, the English dub voice actor, he brings it down, and he's like, "Oh, that's right, little girl, you know, baby girl." Like,
ew. I'm looking at a video here. Final Fantasy VII Remake, all cutscenes, full movie, 15 hours. Are you kidding me?
That sounds about right.
The question is, are all the walking segments in there too? Because there are a lot of walking segments.
That was something else that really bothered me. I'm glad you brought that out. Those sucked. Ugh.
Well, wait a minute. There's combat happening in this video. What is this?
Those walking segments were so fucking annoying, because like Cloud would just walk like really slowly. He's carrying a little basket with flowers in it, helping Aerith.
Oh fuck, that flower.
No, you know what? I like that. I think that's a kind of endearing.
No, yeah, but like he's just walking so slowly sometimes, and I'm just like, these are not good. Like I think that's when the game was annoying me the most, when it was like those slow sections. There were some parts where it felt like it was just slow for no reason, like
because they had to go through all the dialogue.
Not even for the walking segments. I'm also talking about like you had to maneuver that mechanical arm, and that it would so it could grab the crates, and they're like, fuck off. I don't want to do that. You could have made that a straight line with enemies, and I would have enjoyed that a lot more.
Yeah.
Can I give you a little rant I have, because I'm looking at the Final Fantasy VII movie, 15-hour movie here. I noticed this game does something I hate, which is that sort of Uncharted where characters are walking
and they're talking,
and they'll just have Yeah, and they're talking, but the thing... See, I don't mind that. I think that's totally fine. What I dislike is when you run away from one character, and they keep talking, but the audio is positioned such that you can't hear them if you go a certain distance away. That's ridiculous.
Guys,
why don't they just start shouting instead? I think... why are they having this one-sided conversation? Like, what's the point of having them talking if I'm not supposed to hear it? Why are you prioritizing the realism of the scene over telling a story, Nomura? No, I'm sorry. Daniel, from your famous rating system, yes or no, do you approve of Final Fantasy VII Remake?
Despite my gripes with it, I still had fun with it. And despite the ending being what it is, I am still excited to see what happens next.
You are injecting too much nuance into your review here. You have a yes or no rating
I do not.
I believe we established that.
No, you can shove that rating system straight up your ass.
Actually, I will remind you that Daniel's rating system is very sophisticated with strong and weak 9s.
Oh, that's yes. Is it a strong
8s.
Yes?
Well,
I remember you making a big deal out of 4 out of 5 stars is not equal to 8 out of 10.
Yeah, it isn't. And I will have this argument again right now if you keep talking.
Daniel!
Please don't. Please don't.
It is really not
Daniel.
that hard to understand, for fuck's sake.
We're not doing this. This is ridiculous.
Obviously, a 5 out of 5 to a 10 out of 10 rating can be a 9 or a 10.
You have...
And then a 4 is an 8 or a 7. And then a 3 is a 6 or a 5.
4.5 stars is 9.
I don't do half stars. That's the point of a 5 out of 5 rating system. That you don't do half stars because then it's a 10 out of 10 system. Jesus.
That's actually a good point. That's actually a good point. No, you have a star system for the aesthetics. It is a 10 out of 10, but like 10 stars next to each other just looks dumb. It looks like you did a crime in Grand Theft Auto. Daniel, is it a strong yes? Strong no?
Is it a middling yes?
I'm going to go for a decent to strong yes.
Oof. See, that's so snivelly of you to add in that. It's a soft, mild, maybe. Like, you add nuance to it. It's not the point of your rating system.
I get to decide the point of my rating system, not you.
I think I created it when I was hosting the episode once.
Nope.
And as host, I feel like that rule should stick.
Nope.
Bogan, is it how many stars out of 5?
I'm giving it 3 out of 5 stars, but I'm not clicking the heart.
Are you leaving a comment so that the algorithm will pick it up?
There was a Letterboxd reference, though. I don't think Letterboxd has an algorithm.
I'm sorry.
Do
you remember when YouTube had stars? Pepperidge Farm remembers.
Barely. I think...
Anyway.
I liked playing the game, despite all the shit that annoyed me. I feel like the more I think about Final Fantasy VII Remake, the less I like it, which is usually not a good sign.
Are you looking forwards to Chapter 2 in 3 months?
Yeah, kinda. Because I think just playing it once is fun enough. And maybe they will improve on some of the problems.
Hopefully they improve the combat.
Can I ask one question?
I gotta say though, like at the very least, the game feel is so good that even though the combat has its issues, just swinging around Cloud's sword, especially in like Punisher mode, just feels so good that sometimes I don't even care. It's just like fuck.
That is the issue. The combat is fine until it starts challenging you, because the moment it starts challenging you, you realize how unfair it actually is. And how little you can control what is actually happening. Or how little strategy there is to it.
No, I disagree. I think there is strategy to it. I think the problem is trying to play it like an action game because it's not meant to be.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. It is wailing on each other, dressed up as an action game.
Now, I feel like the game is at its best when you're like switching between characters and you're using different spells and different abilities and charging up the meters. And, I think you and I probably wanted to just play as Cloud and then master Cloud. And that's not really what the game wants you to do.
No, I switched around a lot because, I played what the game gave me, but I don't think it's enjoyable. I think it annoys me when I play one character and the other characters keep getting hit and eating damage, and I can't do anything about it.
You are so charitable with your time when you guys aren't editing the podcast, I've noticed. We've had our Final Fantasy VII talk.
But okay, I wanted to bring this back because I wanted to ask one more question.
Okay.
Does this represent action turn-based action? Is it action turn-based ATB?
ATB, active time.
Active time battle. That's right. Does this represent active time battle in a good way?
Not really, because active time battle is still turn-based. Still a turn-based game. This is like a weird action RPG hybrid thing.
So active time battle is like Parasite Eve, where you can run around like an idiot waiting for your text to recharge because that's fun.
No. You don't have any control of your character's positioning or anything like that.
Oh no. Okay. So what you mean active when you
wait, you've played Final Fantasy IX. It's literally that.
Okay, that's not what I mean though. That for me is just turn-based. You mean
that's what Final Fantasy VII is. That's the ATB.
Okay, then I didn't use the right word. I mean, what would you call this system? Where you can run around and you can attack, but you also have these your attacks charging up, and then you go into menus while you're fighting, and you have party members, and you can control them except when you do. Like
I don't think it has a name.
But this is a specific thing that is popular in Japanese games now, is it not? Or it has been for a while. I mean, Kingdom Hearts has that. The Tales games have that, right?
Sort of. Yeah, the Tales games do have it to an extent. Although I would say like a big difference between like a Tales game and this is like if you're good enough at a Tales game, you can never get hit.
Okay. But the idea of having party members that I can't control, that are AI controlled, and they keep getting damage and I can't do anything about it, that drives me nuts. And that's why I hate these systems. And I just want to know if I need to play more games like this, if there are better versions of this out there.
Well, I mean, if you don't like your party members getting hurt, I think that's just a you thing. I think that's just your own problem.
Yeah, but should I, for example, maybe I can see the light. Should I try Kingdom Hearts? Is that better?
If you disliked Final Fantasy VII's story, Bogan, ooh boy.
Well, no, Bogan, you said that you liked the story up until the ending, right?
Yes.
The ending is literally just the entry level of Kingdom Hearts, though.
That's true. That is kind of true.
Okay, I'm talking specifically about the combat though, because I have this.
Sorry.
I think you would like Kingdom Hearts 2's combat more than the remakes. It feels more like an action game.
But then if I play a decent action game, then I probably just ask myself, why do I have these dumbass menus that I need to fiddle with while I'm trying to have the action?
For the most part, you don't need to fiddle with the menus that much in Kingdom Hearts. Like, if you need to just use a spell, there's, like, shortcuts for that. The only time you ever really need to fiddle with the menus in Kingdom Hearts is when you want to transform into, like, a specific form. So like you have the magic form, the valor form, the master, and I think the final. And you'll need to go into the menu real quick to transform, but it's really quick. You're just like with the D-pad, you just go to it and then that's it. So it's not like, if you're thinking like you're constantly going to be like menu surfing during battle, it's not really the case.
Okay. I guess what I'm trying to get at, and this is the last thing I'll say, these systems feel like someone sat down and went, well, we have action systems and we have turn-based, and we need to come up with a concession somehow. And I don't understand why. I still don't understand why these systems exist, because I like both of those systems by themselves, but the moment you throw them together, it doesn't make any sense to me.
I feel like if Final Fantasy VII's combat, and you know, it's weird because the combat was made by the same guy as the Kingdom Hearts combat system, as specifically Kingdom Hearts 2, which is widely considered to be the best Kingdom Hearts combat system. So I don't know.
I think they'll.
I don't know.
They'll definitely readdress it. I say.
Yeah, I think it would be
Square.
weird if they didn't.
Yeah, but if even the best form of this combat is still feels like a compromise that is not needed, then I'm still not gonna like it. And that's what I want to. That's kind of what I want to explore, and I don't know where to start.
I mean, I think that's fair. You don't have to like it.
Can I ask you guys it's not 100% related, it's tangentially related. Who do you think would win in a fight, Dio or Diablo?
Fuck you.
And with that, we're going to take a quick break. And we will...
It's probably Diablo, right?
See, that's that's an obvious answer, but I think all Dio has to do is to get his hands around Diablo, and that battle is over. I don't think it's the same. I think Dio is so much more durable. But then maybe Diablo could just jump over time and make it daylight, and then Dio is gone.
We will be right back after this break. Welcome back, everyone. It's time to talk about remakes versus reimaginings. But we'll probably also talk about remasters, maybe reboots. We'll see. We're so tangential. We'll probably just like go across the spectrum, whatever. So, I mean, we're obviously talking about this specifically because of Final Fantasy VII Remake, which is what inspired this. So, like, that game in particular kind of brought back the discussion of what's a remake? What's a remaster? What's a reimagining? Is that what this is? So, personally speaking, I would say that Final Fantasy VII Remake is not a remake. It is, in fact, a reimagining. What do you think, Boken? I mean, it's hard for you to say for sure because you haven't played the original, but like based on what you understand, what would you say?
I would rather listen to you explain why you think that.
Okay, fair enough.
Hey, Bogan, let's do this for the rest of the episode. Let's just be passive-aggressive and have Daniel do all the work.
It wasn't even passive-aggressive. I don't know.
No, I wanted to hear your perspective from someone that hasn't played the original game. Did it, like... Because, like, you know, you never played it, so to you, did it feel like a remake or a reimagining?
To me, the word reimagining is not really a thing, because I don't think I have a threshold for how faithful something has to be to the original to actually be a remake.
Compared to a reimagining.
Yeah.
Okay. So I would say, like, my usual go-to answer for a reimagining is Oath and Felghana. Because I feel like that game is pretty far removed from the original. And I can see why someone would still insist it's a remake, but like, it doesn't even feel like the original game anymore. And I guess, that's how I feel about Final Fantasy VII Remake, where I feel like it's so far removed from the original at this point that like it's a reimagining, because it's for me, a remake, typically speaking, is like it's the same game for the most part, but the graphics are better, and maybe they added like a couple of things here and there, but like they generally speaking kind of stuck to the original.
Hypothetically, if going back to a subject I brought up earlier, Fullmetal Alchemist, let's say that in the 90s there had been a straight-lined adaptation of the manga, okay? Fullmetal Alchemist 2003 would be the reimagining, and Brotherhood would be the remake. Yeah?
I don't know.
A remake
is... I guess I could kind of see that.
A remake is, let's do it again. A reimagining is, well, what if this had happened? Yeah?
I would say that's a fair assessment.
And we're dealing with approximations here. Let's keep it broad enough that we can have a conversation, because...
Okay, so let's name some remakes then. What are some classical remakes?
I don't know if it's a classic, but Twin Snakes is a remake.
Yeah, that's a remake.
Well, not classical, just typical remake.
Yeah, because Twin Snakes is literally, let's just do Metal Gear 1 again, but the graphics are better. It has Metal Gear Solid 2's gameplay, and some of the cutscenes are a little bit more over the top, and that's about it.
And subjective statement, the performances aren't as good.
I would agree with that. They are not as good. They sounded more natural and warm in the original, and in Twin Snakes, it sounded like they were just there to pick up their paycheck.
Yeah.
Okay, then.
Do you know why they didn't reuse the audio from the original?
I don't know why they didn't just reuse the audio.
Because once they took that old audio and put it onto the more powerful or more advanced sound hardware dealy, you could hear the cars driving in the background of the studio they recorded in.
Oh, that makes sense. Well, what were you going to say, Boken?
I was going to say Resident Evil 1 remake. Clearly a remake then. Resident Evil 2 remake.
Reimagining.
Is it?
See, I haven't played through those games yet, so I don't have an opinion. I haven't played through the original games to completion, and I haven't touched the remakes, so...
But even if you haven't played them, you know that Resident Evil 1 remake is better graphics, maybe some mechanical changes, but overall it's relatively the same map, same control system, all that stuff.
I do know that the layout was changed a bit.
Yeah, a bit, but that's
they
not...
They added that doorknob.
But compare those changes to what Resident Evil 2 remake did to Resident Evil 2.
If I'm going with my gut right now, I would say RE1 is a remake, RE2 is a reimagining.
Okay. Even though the story is the same?
Yes. Yes.
Cool.
See, here's the thing, right? This is because I feel like the distinction between what makes something a remake and what makes something a reimagining is pretty vague, right? Because there aren't really any clearly defined rules as to, okay, this is definitely a remake, this is definitely a reimagining.
It's like porn. You can categorize it when you see it. You know it when you see it. That's a famous quote from a U.S. court case where some governor or senator was like trying to ban porn, and the lawyers demanded that you need to give us a definition of porn, and his reasoning was, I can't define it, but I know it when I see it. Which, that doesn't work in a court of law, but I think that is actually just the best way to deal with a lot of this stuff.
It's funny because I remember an episode of Parks and Recreation, and that same thing was brought up, and then they had a porn star talking to them about it, and they asked her, and she's like, to me, it's when the penis goes in.
See, but that, even that, like, you can jerk off on somebody's face and videotape that. That's still porn.
So there's a lot of softcore porn where the penis doesn't go in.
Yeah, that's true. And what about lesbian porn? See, I think you need to pay your senator a visit, Daniel. I don't know if it was in Florida, statistically not. But I would say Resident Evil 1 is a remake because it is what they're doing there is they're taking the original game and they're just, let's do this again, but better. Whereas with Resident Evil 2, they're taking the RE2 and they're saying, let's do this again, but let's change it so that it's palatable to a modern audience.
I can see that.
But isn't that a lot of remakes?
Yeah, well, I think that RE1 is really guided by, let's just really hone in on what the original did well, and let's ditch what it didn't do well and just amplify it. Let's really condense the original Resident Evil into really just distill it into this beautiful thing. Whereas a reimagining is, let's change it so that it works. Yeah.
I don't know if a reimagining is specifically let's change it so that it works, because I don't
not.
Because I feel like, especially with the Final Fantasy VII, like with Final Fantasy VII Remake, it doesn't come across to me like we're changing this so that it works. It comes across more like we just want to do a different take. Not necessarily better or worse, just its own thing, a different thing. Because the developers, like I said before, have mentioned multiple times that they are hoping that anyone new to Final Fantasy VII playing the remake will feel the need to then go back and play the original and appreciate it on its own terms.
Yeah. What are some other examples of remakes, reimaginings? Ratchet & Clank, the 2016 game, that is a reimagining. They are not even trying to be
because they fucked up the story, right? But from the way I looked at it, the
story is so different.
The gameplay looked fairly similar. I mean, I haven't played it, but
no, it's not. Because the original game had no strafing, and you couldn't level up at all. Yeah. Well, and that's all
you
stuff
you could buy the gold weapons, but you couldn't.
Yeah, but like they. Over the years, the series has slowly made improvements and changes to like the core formula, and they rolled all of those into the remake or the reimagining, and I think it's more of a reboot, if anything.
Yeah, but see, this is why when we talked about this earlier, is that. I think that a reboot, the only difference between a reboot and a reimagining is that a reboot is the developer's way of saying we're reimagining it with plans to make it go on for a long time.
Yeah,
a reimagining is a standalone, a reboot is a franchise.
Yeah, a reboot is basically made with the intent of, okay, we are now going to move forward with this separate canon.
Yes.
Okay, let me condense this a bit, because it seems
this is so nebulous.
Wait, the definition of reimagining we're using right now is really broad, to the point where everything that has a bunch of changes to make it more modern or whatever is a reimagining. So if that is our definition, then I want to know, what was the last actual remake that existed?
I would say the Yakuza Kiwami games are for sure remakes. They're those games are 1-to-1 the original games, except with better graphics and combat, and that's about it. They also added new side quests.
Isn't that just a remaster then?
No, I wouldn't say it's just a remaster, because they went out of their. I think a remaster is when you take the original. You don't mess with the original assets. I feel like if you're going out of your way to recreate new assets, then it's no longer a remaster. I feel like a remaster, typically speaking, tries to keep it to as close to the original as possible, and just raising the resolution and the frame rate, and that's
you
that's
remaster a painting, you remake a statue. No, that doesn't make any sense. Sorry. Can I add another wrinkle into this conversation?
Okay.
A redo. So let me give you an example. The Lego Star Wars games were just Lego adaptations of the Star Wars movies. Then we got Lego Star Wars The Skywalker Saga, which is another attempt, another just redoing all of the movies again in Lego, but it's not remaking the original games. It's just, again, doing this thing irrespective of the originals. Or is that maybe just straying too far away from exactly what we're trying to talk about?
And then just a reboot then? I mean, there are multiple ones, right?
Well, I think the Skywalker Saga was a standalone. So I don't think it would be a well, you know what? The Lego games, they are their own thing in this conversation.
That's the thing, right? That's what makes this difficult to talk about, because like a lot of this is just like really nebulous and just really like, I guess it's
okay.
It's a lot of that, you know.
My knee. I banged my knee. Sorry, guys.
So what would be another remake that came out recently?
Recently?
Yeah. Because with our definition, I feel like I'm blanking on actually naming some.
So, like I said before, the Kiwami 1 and 2 are definitely remakes in my mind.
Black Mesa?
Yeah, I haven't played through Black Mesa, but that seems to be a remake at least. I have been meaning to play it, so I could get back to you guys on that later.
Yeah, you do that, bro.
I'll do that, yeah.
Dude.
Because, I mean...
Video games are cool.
We're done, Daniel. What were you going to say, Bogan?
No, I'm trying to name more. I mean, even movies or something.
Movie remakes are weird. Because they usually don't have, like, anything to do with the original.
Except when it's like a shot-by-shot remake, like that Psycho. Did you see that?
Psycho, yeah.
With Vince Vaughn.
See, I feel like movie remakes are so unnecessary compared to video game remakes, because, like, what are you gaining from doing a shot-for-shot remake of a movie? Just watch the original. Like, at least with a video game, even if you may not agree, there is that idea of, well, if this game came out in like 1995, whatever, and there could be some value of bringing that game back in the current year in order to fix its problems or perceived problems.
Video games,
add new mechanics.
The video games as a presentative medium has continued to evolve. Movies haven't. Movies are still just technology in movies has evolved, but
yeah,
it's
exactly.
still just
like you
a
can
camera
do a lot more
and acting.
You can do a lot more
Whereas,
with the facts now.
Yeah, but with video games, it's you throw in one mechanic and the entire presentation changes.
Not even just the presentation, the entire experience is different, because now you've added crafting or whatever. Like, okay, that adds like a whole new dynamic to the game. Not necessarily better or worse, it depends on the execution, but it just by adding things like that, it changes the nature of how the player interacts with the game.
I feel like Nintendo does a lot of no, they don't do remakes, they do remasters, like Wind Waker and well, wait a minute.
No, Wind Waker was not a remaster in my book. because they did go back and change the graphics.
Yeah, that's a soft remake, harkening back to your shitty.
That is not a
system.
remake.
It's not a remaster.
Well, they added
Why
stuff
not?
too, and they changed
Because
stuff.
they created new assets.
See, how about
That's I don't know. I don't like this definition then.
what about
I mean, that's what I'm sticking with.
what about? See, I would even say though that just having the tablet in your hand completely changes the dynamic. I wouldn't consider the Ocarina of Time or Majora's Mask 3DS versions as remasters, though it is.
Yeah, those are remakes for sure.
Even though it is
You guys
essentially
are
the
crazy.
same code. No, because
What do you mean we're crazy?
Those games don't change. I was gonna bring up the Ocarina of Time remake. Apparently, is that
Definitely.
are
a
those
remake.
new assets? I don't know. I don't.
Yes, they're new assets.
it's new visuals. The
But they
coding is
don't.
the.
They don't look that modern either. Like they.
Have you seen the original N64 versions and compared them to the 3DS versions? The 3DS versions look much better.
They look much better.
I actually
yeah.
don't think they do. I think they.
Well, okay.
I think there's a lot of charm to that sort of brown gray aesthetic.
Okay, when I say better, I mean I
Technologically advanced.
I can understand artistically if you prefer the original, fine.
To be honest,
But
it's probably
I'm-
just nostalgia.
But I think you can agree that the 3DS versions take advantage of the new hardware.
Oh, yes.
And
Oh, yes.
you know, all that shit. And the models have more polygons, whatever.
Yes.
Sure. Yeah.
But like, for me, the reason I consider it a remake is because it introduces new assets with the intention of improving the quality of the models and the backgrounds and environment.
But
But
also
that's
just the
specifically
inventory
then-
being mapped to the second screen.
So like,
But okay.
So, like-
hold on.
okay,
The point of the remaster is to up the fidelity, to make the game better looking or better running. I don't think it necessarily depends on whether you made new assets or not.
I disagree.
But why? Like they didn't change that much about the game. I appreciate what they changed. Like I understand the water temple back then was fucking terrible, and the way it is now in the 3DS remake, it is one of my favorite Zelda dungeons.
It's so good.
Like conceptually the water dungeon is fucking amazing on the water temple, and the fact that I can now play through it and it isn't a pain to control, that's wonderful. But I don't think it drastically enough changes the game as a whole just to call it a remake now.
Daniel Boken
See-
has swayed me. I'm on his side now.
No.
And
I
the
feel like
same-
because they didn't remake the game. They took the old game and they just polished it.
And yeah, and they exactly, and they it still plays mostly the same, you know. And the same with Wind Waker. Just because it looks better, and they had
But
to make it look
then-
better, they had to create new assets. Fine, and they.
So
and
are
yeah,
you
they,
saying?
they-
Are you? Hold on a second. So are you saying there's no difference between how the PS3 HD version of Shadow of the Colossus was handled compared to the PS4 version? You're saying there's no difference?
Oh.
I haven't played the PS4 version. I recently actually saw a video of that, and I just, it was a shock to me. Like I was like,
Why was it?
oh, that looks weird. That looks different. I mean, the PS3 thing is just a remaster, right?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
my point. That the reason that's a remaster is because all the assets are intact. Like it is the same game. All they did was bump the resolution and bump the frames per second. And that's not to take away the amount of work that went into doing that. I'm sure Bluepoint worked very hard. But at the end of the day, that's all they really did.
I have never played
And-
the PS4 version, and I don't know how.
And compared to the Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, they didn't just improve the resolution and frame rate, although I don't even think the resolution of the 3DS is any better than the N64, I don't think. They did more than just port the game and then improve the frame rate and call it a day, right? They went out of their way to recreate the game. It is... Now, your argument is basically, well, mechanically it's the same. I don't think that matters.
I think
the fact of the matter... Okay.
I think it does matter because I think there might be technical reasons why you can't just use the old assets and you have to create new ones. That might be. I think what differentiates a remake from a remaster is the intent of what you're trying to do, and I think a remake to, like, you know what I mean. A remaster. Okay, if in order to make it graphically more impressive, you have to create new assets, but you still make the gameplay mostly the same, then I think you set out to make a remaster.
But the PS3 version of Shadow of the Colossus, I don't think their intent was to make more visually impressive. It's visually cleaner, not more impressive. It's the same visuals.
It's visually modernized. It's just ported to a better
It's not
system.
visually modernized. All they did was bump the resolution.
Yeah.
So it's
well, wait a minute.
It's not.
New system can handle a better resolution.
Do we want to bring in dictionary sticklerism into this conversation?
I don't think that's going to help because here's the other
well,
problem.
it might.
I feel like if you're bringing in the dictionary, it's going to bring up music remasters.
Well,
which is
no,
a totally different thing.
they do differentiate here. So, well, there is. Oh, yeah, you're right. They do bring up music, but it's still tangentially. It still works. So to remaster is to produce a new version of a recording by remixing the original master recordings. A remake is the act, something in remade form, especially a new version of an earlier movie or a song. So a remake, you make it again from the grounds up. A remaster, you take the old and you just spit shine it.
See, and that's what I would say the Shadow of the Colossus on PS3 is. It's the same old game, but, they just, clean it up a bit. But the PS4 version is built from the ground up to be, a new version of the old thing.
Yeah.
And that's how I feel about the 3DS remakes as well.
3DS?
Those are remakes because it's not just the old game, but, cleaner. No, it's the old games with new graphics, all new assets.
Yeah, but the coding, it's the same code, isn't it?
I don't think it's the same code. I mean, you hold on. If we're going to, Kiwami throws a wrench in that because in Yakuza Kiwami, the cutscenes are literally the exact same cutscenes. Aside from some of the new ones that they created, but the cutscenes use the exact same animations, and you just have the new models. But they went out of their way to improve the combat. You can now have full control of the camera. It's clearly not just a remaster.
Well, maybe bringing in the dictionary wasn't helpful after all.
Well, yeah, because no one calls anything a reimagining. 90% of what is called a remake this day, by our definition, is not a remake. But it's still, most games are still marketed as remakes. And those Zelda games are not marketed as remakes. Wind Waker HD is not marketed as a remake.
I guess not, but at the same time, I'm going to stick by my guns. That's how I see it.
Well, I mean, I get your...
When has anything ever been marketed as a reimagining? I don't think... I mean, the only time I can think is Silent Hill Shattered Memories was marketed as a reimagining of Silent Hill 1.
We're doing really good with bringing up the topics we brought up earlier in this episode, I'm noticing. Miyamoto considers Ocarina of Time a remaster. Do we give a shit what he thinks? He hasn't
Not
made a
really.
good game in 20 years. Huamoto?
Miyamoto?
Yeah.
Whatever. What was he know?
Miyahuto?
I mean, I don't really
No,
believe
see,
in
the original...
I don't
the
I don't
original...
believe in adhering to the word of God in this case.
No.
Because, like, what if Miyamoto starts saying that, like, oh yeah, Super Mario Bros. And the NES, that's actually a first-person shooter. Like, get the fuck out of here. No, it's not.
We
like,
have here confirmation. Ocarina of Time on the 3DS, it is the same code. They specifically kept some of the game's bugs in because they wanted to be true to the original experience. I'm willing to say that's a remaster.
Didn't they, for Wind Waker...
I'm still not.
For Wind Waker HD, didn't they keep that weird water effect when you're sailing? Where, like, you know what I mean? The water that goes to the side of the boat that looks really fucked up?
I think they... Yeah. Did they keep it?
I think they kept that, but I'm not sure.
You know what they say? Oh, we wanted to preserve it like you remember it. Get out of here!
Well, but maybe that's also part of the code. I don't know.
I don't buy that just because it's this, like, it shares code that it's a remaster. Because, like, games carry over code all the time. I don't think that means anything.
Yeah, but I think there is a big difference between you remade the entire code and you took the old code back and then just swapped out some of the models. I think that the code is the most important thing. It's kind of like if you don't remaster a song by re-recording it. You just take the old song and you remaster it. Is that right, Boken? I know nothing about music. I may have just said something really dumb.
Well, I don't know either, so I can't really say on that respect.
Can you repeat that?
If we're going by the dictionary, then Ocarina of Time is a remaster. Because you just take the old and you spit, shine, polish it up. Whereas Yakuza would be a remake, because they remade all the code and all the graphics, didn't they?
But they didn't. Like I said, the cutscenes are literally shot for shot the exact same cutscenes. Like, they use the exact same animations, and you can actually tell when it's not using an old cutscene because it's really jarring how much better the new cutscenes look, especially in terms of animations. They literally ripped the code for the old animations and just put the new models.
See, this is kind of interesting. I'm
resisting this idea that, like, oh, if it carries the old code, then that automatically makes it a remaster.
I don't think it's that simple. All the cutscenes in Yakuza Kiwami, is it then a remake?
I'd say it's a remake regardless, but I don't think skipping cutscenes is relevant.
I think it is. I think that it's the code that matters most here. I think it's
I really don't.
I think it's gameplay.
I don't think code is that important in this regard. I'm not saying code is unimportant, mind you. I don't want anyone to take me out of context.
See, going by the music example, if I wrote a song in the 90s and I recorded it and I had it on an album, and then I make a 2020 remaster of the same song, it would obviously be a remaster if I just take the old recordings and just freshen them up in post-production. But what if I had new instruments with my band? Like, we're all playing new guitars, new keyboards, we have a new drum set, and we still play the song note for note again, and we try to recreate the old sound as much as possible, but with our new instruments.
I would say that's a remake.
It's almost as if we're trying to apply too strict qualifiers to way too complicated products here.
Probably.
See, the problem is, Danny, I don't even mind your definitions because I think there's a clarity to them, but I don't think they help much describing, like, trying to fit this into the discussion we're having in daily life about video games or about movies, because no one is calling anything a reimagining. especially not marketing people. And most things are called remakes, and most things are called remasters, even when they had to create new graphics.
I think it's mostly because the term remake is much more marketable compared to reimagining. I don't think that word is in discourse enough for marketers to want to rely on it, because it might confuse people. And they're like, well, let's just call it a remake. People generally know what a remake is, so we'll just refer it to that. Even if it's not the most apt descriptor, it's the most marketable because it's the word that people know the most and will be able to have a general idea of what the product will be.
If we can't take the word of marketing, who can we trust?
Well, I mean, you shouldn't trust them that much to begin with, but whatever. That's neither here nor there.
Let me try that again. If we can't take the word of marketing, who can we trust?
I mean, oh, fucking hell. Why does it take so long for you to play that song?
I have it on my cell phone.
Yeah, still.
No, what do you mean?
You prepare that song in advance, and then you just press the button.
No, I pressed play as soon as I told the joke.
Why does it take so long then?
I don't know. Maybe my microphone doesn't pick it up all the way. I'll fix it in editing. I'll remaster it or I'll remake it. It'll sound right to you, dear listener. You're all I care about. That's why you guys weren't laughing. The Discord ruined the timing of the joke. That's the only reason you guys weren't laughing.
Maybe. If that helps you get to sleep at night.
Okay. See, okay, here's another definition, which I think, even though it's kind of just a joke definition, this is probably more accurate than anything we've cooked up. A remaster is something you do when you're on a budget. A remake is something you do when you have production money to throw around. Yeah?
That's... I don't know.
I mean...
It's going way too much into the creation of something. And not the end product.
I mean... I don't know. What if they did have a ton of money to just do a remaster, but they were remastering like 10 games?
Well, then you divide the money by 10, and then it's not a lot of money. Ta-da!
I don't buy this. I don't buy this at all.
Damn it. I thought it was so clever.
One example I think is interesting. So we have Tales of Graces and we have Tales of Graces F. Tales of Graces was on the Nintendo Wii, and when it dropped, it was a Japan-only title. It was kind of buggy, and it didn't have all the content that was in the PS3 version. So the PS3 version, obviously, higher resolution, I think higher frame rate, has more content. It actually added a whole epilogue sequence that wasn't in the original version. It added a new gameplay mechanic. Is that a remaster or a remake?
By your definition, it's obviously not a remaster.
I would agree it is a remaster.
See, I don't know, because
but I wanted to get your...
I just said it's not a remaster.
So you don't think it's a remaster?
If they added an epilogue and had new mechanics, why is it a remaster?
Because it retains all of the same assets.
So what? You can use the same assets and create a new game if you wanted to.
That's called a sequel. That's called Majora's Mask.
A sequel is something totally different.
Yeah, but the point is, just because you keep the same assets doesn't mean it's a remaster of the same game. If you just take those assets and flip stuff around or add something.
So what about Majora's Mask? That uses all the same assets.
Yeah, but it's not presenting the same narrative.
That's not remaking anything.
No, it's a sequel.
Yeah.
I think nobody's going to debate that Majora's Mask is just a sequel to Ocarina of Time. It reuses some code.
No, of course.
Or
Every sequel
maybe,
reuses
what
code.
if is Majora's Mask a remaster of Ocarina of Time?
No, they didn't remaster anything. Are you crazy?
No.
Yeah, but that's where Daniel just took us.
That's not what I was trying to say.
Yeah.
Let's take him out of context again, Boken.
No,
So
but that's-
Daniel,
I'm just following your logic.
I'm just trying to understand because, like, for me, Tales of Graces F is clearly just a remaster. Like, it's not a remake.
this would help
because-
a lot more if this was a game which Boken and I had played.
Well, nobody played the Wii version because it only came out in Japan.
Oh. What about? So, I was gonna do a joke.
So what?
example.
Okay, what about Doom 64? Like, they recently came out with Doom 64, and they added like new maps.
Excuse me, what is that?
I don't know what that is either.
You don't?
I heard about it a
You
lot,
don't-
but I don't know what it is.
Oh, okay. Wow, you guys are out of the loop.
No, I know
what
what
the
it
hell.
is. The original creators came back and they did Doom 3D with.
So-
they redirected it or something.
No, stop.
Yes, they did.
Kill it.
And then John
Stop
Carmack
embarrassing
started
yourself,
making.
You're
Asa.
you're
Rocket
killing me,
ships.
Smalls. You're killing me, Smalls. So
I'm gonna
Doom
edit
64 was, I think, originally Doom 64 was going to just be a port of Doom 1, but ended up just it being a whole new game. Like, it's a totally new game, new assets, new everything. It's just, it might as well be Doom 3 for all intents and purposes, but it's Doom 64. Recently, for the release of Doom Eternal, they decided to re-release Doom 64, and it's basically the same game, but in a higher resolution, higher frame rate, but they added new maps, which tie into Doom Eternal in terms of story and lore. Is this a remaster or a remake?
It's a remaster. It's a retooling, let's say.
Why is it a remaster?
Did they remake the
How-
game, Daniel?
No,
But
No,
it's
okay.
it's all the same assets. Everything is the same. They just decided to add some extra maps.
Then it's just a remaster.
I don't like
What is
this. I don't like this definition.
It's a re-release.
How I don't understand how this is a remake.
Because they
I don't
added,
understand how that's a.
they
I
added
don't understand how
new
that's a
shit.
remake. How is that a remake? But Ocarina of Time in the 3DS is a fucking remaster. No, I don't agree with this at all.
No, I believe all of them should be remakes by your definition.
They're all no. These are remasters.
But why?
Because they retain all the same assets, but they're just a bump in resolution and
And they
frame rate.
changed something about the game. They added something
Yes.
that was maybe missing, or because they wanted it in there. How is that different from them changing something in, like, smoothing out the quest in Wind Waker HD?
What's the difference between changing
I
the
haven't
quest
played Wind
and
Waker
bumping
HD,
up the
so-
frame rate? You wouldn't say bumping a 30 frame game to a 60 FPS game, that wouldn't qualify it for a remake, even though you fiddle a bit around with code, would you?
I mean, with the frame rate, in terms of frame rate, like, I don't think bumping it up necessarily makes it a remake.
I see. I think that if all you do is bump up the frame rate, you're just remastering it. If all you do is change the textures, you're just remastering it. I feel
No.
like a remake.
I feel like with the textures, that's a different thing.
I feel like a remake, for it to be a remake, you need to change the game in some way. Otherwise, it's just you need to make it again. You need to do it over. You can't just take the old code, clean it up nicely, and call it a remake. You haven't made anything.
Okay, well,
Well, you have, but
I really don't agree with your two's definition. This is garbage.
Garbage.
Okay, so what
it is.
It's garbage arguments.
see.
What is this? So okay,
I have
all
another
right.
interesting
let's,
example.
wait, hold on. Let me just get this out. Let's say you have a game
yes.
and it's 99%, like almost 100% the same, but they added a gun.
Yeah.
An extra gun.
Yeah.
Is that now a remake?
Does it change the experience?
You tell me.
This is, you know what, this is...
I'm asking you.
See, I don't know. Do they add the gun? Is it a model? Which
so,
because
by your guys' definition, a remake is due to the nature of the changes. So, at what degree of intensity do the changes turn something from a remaster to a remake?
Daniel, at what point does Theseus's ship stop being the original ship? Like this is what we're doing here.
No, but
that's why these discussions of remasters, remakes, reimagining is just a shit show, because there's no real definitions to any of this shit.
You are asking.
You
are asking me this. I was mocking your definition. Because
no, you said my definition was good before.
I said there was a clarity to it. I don't think it's actually that applicable to real life, because most people just don't share your terms. And
it's not my fault that the masses are a bunch of morons that can't see the light.
And in my opinion,
once again we mock the masses on the Espresso podcast.
And in my opinion, the Zelda not the Zelda remakes, the Zelda 3DS games and Wind Waker HD,
and Twilight
the graphic argument aside, yeah, they use new assets, whatever. But I would even still call them a remaster, even though they change something about the gameplay, because I don't think the changes are that drastic, and they don't change the experience. Like, they change them in a good way, but where you can still experience what the intention actually was. They got a little redo on their intention. And in Wind Waker HD, for example, there's this whole fetch quest at the end where you need to just sail around and get a bunch of Triforce pieces or something. And they just smooth that out where you don't have to travel as much, and it's way shorter now, and that is way better because the quest was shit. That for me is still a remaster, because it's still what it felt like back then, but less tedious. So good.
So for you, it comes down to the intensity of the changes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Between remake and remaster.
I get that. I don't personally agree with it, but sure, I can at least see where you're coming
from. And what
from.
I think is an interesting example would be Wonder Boy and the Dragon's Trap, which I think marketed itself as a remake. But it is this old-ass NES game that came out with like a completely new art style.
No, not an NES game. It was a Sega Master System.
Sega Master System. Fine.
Get it right.
I don't care.
You should care.
But it has a new art style, and it looks fucking beautiful. Like it looks amazing, made by the guys who, from the art style at least, who are now have brought out Streets of Rage 4, by the way. But anyway, it looks amazing. But in the game, there is a button that you press, and then it wipes the screen and goes back to the old 8-bit sprites or whatever they are. And so...
Yeah, I've seen that.
Obviously, those are not, like, the new graphics are not remade, the 8-bit assets remade. But you can, with a press of a button, go into the 8-bit state and it plays exactly the same. Like, they are that faithful to the original gameplay.
I think the Master Chief Collection does the same thing.
Yes, I was going to say, Halo would probably be a more famous example.
Okay.
I think I would also say that Fable Anniversary Edition is that faithful as well, where it is literally 1-to-1 the exact same as Fable: The Lost Chapters, but it just has better graphics, and that is literally it.
But see, I would almost call that a remaster then, even though it doesn't call itself that. But then the game plays like shit. It plays like an old-ass game that you don't want to play. That's how faithful they are.
How would you classify the Crash Bandicoot remaster?
I consider those remakes. They're not remasters to me.
Interesting. Bogan.
Yeah, remaster for me.
Even the physics are different.
That's true, but not in a very significant way. I feel like, at least
some people.
Some people are very.
Would you really argue with that?
Know.
Some people would get very angry with you for saying that.
I don't want to associate with those people.
I mean, I think all we've really done in this discussion is just clearly define what we personally think remakes, remasters, and reimaginings are, and we have not come to an agreement otherwise.
Man, let's not get us started on music. DuckTales Remastered.
Let's not, because we don't know anything about this.
Here's the thing, right? By your definition, DuckTales Remastered is actually a remake because it has new content.
Well, by your definition, it's also a remake.
I also agree it's a remake.
Okay.
See, what can we throw in with remake, remaster? I feel like with a remake, again, I go back to to the dictionary I used earlier to be technically right, you know. A remake, I don't think you can just take an old game, strap some content in it, just throw a bunch of, here's a bonus level. That doesn't make it a remake. You haven't remade it. Putting stuff in the game which wasn't there before is not remaking it. You remake it when you can't just, the skeleton of the game, if it's still there, more or less, it's probably going to be a remaster. But if you rebuild it from the ground up, then it's a remake. Yeah?
I don't know.
I don't know. Because we have so many conflicting.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
we have, I keep bringing up Kiwami because like that, for all intents and purposes, I think anyone who would play that would say this is not just a remaster, this is a remake. But it clearly also has the same old code in it. Like very obviously, like I could show you a cutscene comparison video, and you look at them, and it's like Jesus Christ, literally the exact same cutscene. They might have added like an extra scene or something, but like otherwise the cutscenes are like 1-to-1.
I give more leeway to cutscenes than I do. I think
mechanics.
Yeah, I think that when it comes to the code, that's when I think it really starts to matter. Like even if Twin Snakes had the exact same cutscenes from the original, I still consider that a remake. Like they changed the game.
I'd agree with that. It would be a remake regardless.
I've solved it, guys.
I think we've exhausted this topic.
I think we've exhausted our energy for this topic, and also
I think we're just exhausted. Period.
When I started mocking your definitions, Danny, I completely lost track of what I actually think. Now I'm so confused.
Yeah, that's the thing, because
that's what you get.
What you get. One of us gives a definition, and then thinking that okay, this here game I can define it like this, but as soon as we give out that definition, another person is thinking of another game, applies it, and then starts attacking that definition. But you would accept that definition if it had been applied to a third game or a fourth game. It's too nebulous. So. Once again,
I think we can all agree it's all a bunch of bullshit. Who cares?
Remaster, remakes, you know it when you see it.
Yeah, I guess.
Apparently
That's
not.
That's the logo of the podcast.
Probably.
Apparently not.
So, what have you guys been up to? Have you guys made any videos recently? I know that Acer has.
I made 2 videos recently, Daniel. I made the Kingsfield video. It's doing very nice.
Mm-hmm.
It's the best tracking video on my channel, somehow. Somehow, that obscure game. So that's really nice. And I also made the Crash Twinsanity video I promised to do long ago.
I just want to say, I really liked your Kingsfield video. I very much enjoyed it.
I did too,
Thank
actually.
you. Thank you.
There's not a hint of sarcasm or trying to pull your leg. It was a great video. Very appreciated.
Thank you. I think the Crash Twin Sandy video is better though.
I'll be sure to watch it.
Thank you. Thank you too, Bogan.
Bogan, are you working on anything?
No. But I've been actually thinking about it.
That's good.
I'm trying. It's for me. It's actually difficult to get back into writing. And there's just, I don't know. I don't know. I have a video, like I have a script ready, but I don't want to go with that for my first like video coming back.
Can I guess what it is? Is
You're
it the one
not
you
gonna
told
guess
me about?
what it is.
Is
No.
it the Resident Evil thing you told me about?
No.
No, okay.
That would probably be the third one. Actually, no. I feel like I should start with something nice and easy, and then go with the idea that I told you, and then go with the one that I have ready.
All right. Hey, you should do a Silent Hill 4 video before Daniel can.
I don't. Why?
Yeah,
Just to be a dick.
everyone is just clamoring from my perspective on Silent Hill, I'm sure.
Well, that's not why you do it. You do it to be a dick.
Oh, okay.
What about you, Daniel? Are you working on something?
Yeah, Silent Hill video. I'm working on Silent Hill 4 video, which is why I've been playing it recently. The title of the video, I think, will be The Perversion of Personal Space. I think that's what I'm going to go with. But aside from that, I also recently uploaded a new video called A Tale of Disappointment, Tales of Hysteria Analysis Part 1, An Environmental Problem. So that video is doing pretty good as of when we started recording this, so that's nice. People seem to be enjoying it. If you want to hear me complain about the world and level design of Tales of Hysteria, you can check that video out. And after the Silent Hill 4 video, I'll probably upload part 2, which will be talking about the combat.
Tales of Hysteria, A Tale of Disappointment, or A Tale of Disappointment, Tales of Hysteria?
A Tale of Lost Potential is what I meant to say.
Tale of Lost Potential.
May I ask why you don't finish the series first before you go into Silent Hill?
I didn't want the channel to become too focused on this one topic, so I thought and I don't think everyone who watches my content is interested in hearing my take on the game, so I thought I'd interject like a different video just to like break it up.
Yeah. I don't agree with that at all, but you do you.
Well,
we had this conversation. We're not having this conversation again, guys. This is a 3-hour podcast. God damn it.
That's true.
Well, we have the the conversation
Yeah.
on whether you should break up the video itself. Now we're having the conversation if you should break up the already broken up videos with another video.
We're not having this conversation either. And you ruined my joke, Bogan. You monster. I asked him Tale of Disappointment, and I was gonna say, oh, sounds like something my dad might say, and then I was gonna play the Seinfeld theme a third time because comedy comes in threes, and you ruined it.
I'm glad it was ruined.
Me too.
What? Yeah, but next month I'm gonna start working on the Kingsfield 2 video, and I had a crazy idea for a Deus Ex video. I want to track all of the conspiracies in that game, the conspiracy theories, and I want to make like a detailed breakdown of each one of them, and I want to do it without getting psychopaths in my comment section, and I don't know if I can do it.
I don't think it's possible.
I think it'll be fun though. Hey, do you have opinions on these conspiracy theories? Because you saw a JPEG on some shady website? Nobody cares. Nobody cares. You know?
All right, I think that's it. I think we're going to end it here. If you haven't already, go watch Acer's Kingsfield video. It's very good.
And Daniel's Hysteria video. I've yet to watch it because I was in the middle of watching the Into the Green Yonder, Wild Green Yonder Futurama movie, but I'm going to watch it now.
All right, thank you. I appreciate that. And don't watch any of Boken's stuff because he hasn't made anything.
Can still go watch my old videos. Jesus.
No, you need to make something new.
Bogan, have you ever considered making a video on Soul Reaver?
You mean, it's
And
not
how
Soul
you were
Reaver.
wrong? You were wrong about Soul Reaver?
Oh, fuck me.
So many comments you got of people complaining to you about Soul Reaver.
The other day, someone called me a contrarian because I didn't like the game. Like, he didn't understand my reasoning for some. Like he pretended like I had no reasons.
I mean, to be fair, you're not wrong. Not a lot happened in Soul Reaver 1 to the point where I feel like Soul Reaver 1 and 2 could have been rolled into one game and it would have been fine.
Oh my god, you guys. I am so sorry. No, I'm not. Soul Reaver and Legacy of Kain are the same thing. My joke works.
Okay, for a second there, I thought you were going to say that you hadn't been recording.
No, I would never make that mistake again. Remember that?
All right, everyone. This has been the Essays and Espresso podcast.
Tired boys.
Take care.
Long episodes.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.